going on, guys? Welcome back to another edition of the Evolution of Sports Talk Television. It's the Sports Web on a happy
Hump Day
edition. How do we start off this show as we do on a Monday, Wednesday, usually Monday nights, but sometimes, you know what? I'm kind of tired out after doing shows for 2 hours and 30 minutes talking to a bunch of irate Bucks fans, even after a win. What's that all about, Bucks fans? Bring your passion, bring your excitement. Just don't bring any nonsense. On tonight's show, we'll have the legend himself, Mr. Leo Haggerty, former Coach Scout and now media member of Night Sports Productions and Amped Up Sports. At 9:30, we will have a longtime caller of the Steve Dumick Show, Mr. Green Bay Bob Fox, now an author, has written a book with Jerry Kramer. Of course, that Jerry Kramer, the Hall of Famer for the Green Bay Packers, so we'll check in with the Packers. Of course, we'll have Harry, the Greek professional handicapper extraordinaire, maybe some Ray Kennedy. Also, J.C. Allen of Sports Illustrated coming up here in just a couple minutes. And as always, we'll take your phone calls. 727-255-0391. It's 727-255-0391. As we got the man himself, Mr. Leo Haggerty, waiting for J.C. Allen to get on. Maybe he'll call in. Maybe he'll video in. I don't know. This is the structure of the show. We talk Tampa Bay Buccaneer football. We talk around the NFL. What do you think about the matchup versus the Green Bay Packers on Sunday? Believe it is at 1 o'clock. So 1 o'clock Sunday versus the Green Bay Packers. Battle of the Bays. Can the Bucs continue this winning streak? Can they continue it? Because the Packers, look, they weren't supposed to lose that game versus the Giants. Any given Sunday, guys. Any given Sunday. Do you believe in this team? Do you have some positivity? Or are you still on that track of, let's fire Todd Bowles. Let's get rid of Baker Mayfield. Let's start all over again. Let's rebuild. Let's rinse and repeat over and over and over again. Are you ready to make a playoff push? You tell me. 727-255-0391. It's 727-255-0391. So let's go out to the man himself, the legend. Here we go. Right there, former Coach Scout and now media member of Night Sports Productions, Mr. Leo Haggerty. Welcome to the Evolution of Sports Talk Television. I see you, boss. Siege the day with your Buccaneer shirt on. And, of course, Baker Mayfield, not necessarily his best game, but he sieged the day on the last drive there of 75 yards. Welcome to the Sports Web.
Hey, Peter, it's great to be on with you. And where you at, before we start, where you at with your views? Still at 50,000 or is it going up?
Well, it is over now, and believe it or not, and I think I can get this reel here. Let me go ahead and play. Well, I'm not going to play it. You've already seen it. It's over 60,000. I think it's like 63,000. Not 63 views, not 630 views, 63,000. I can't believe it. Yes.
And you know what, Peter?
Yes.
I'm going to take an assist on that. You know that.
Yes, I know. I can't even talk because I can't even believe it's 63,000. But you know what? You put a reel out there that a lot of people believe in, and they could see your conviction, and they could see that passion. We always say three things. Bring your passion, bring your excitement, just don't bring any nonsense. Some people are going so far as being mad about this, making fun of my teeth. Make fun of my teeth. Make fun of my looks, but just know that you took a chance, you took a look at the video that I posted. Thank you very much for giving me that view. I appreciate it. Now, with that being said, without patting myself on the back, patting you on the back, thank you very much for the assist there. What do you think of this Tampa Bay Buccaneer team after their win over the Atlanta Falcons on Sunday?
Peter, that was huge because they finally came back. Now, down the road, they will have the confidence. If it's late in the game and they need a touchdown, okay, we can do that. We've done this already.
Yeah.
And Peter, the running game, and I've said this and I preached it, for every new offensive lineman you start, it's going to take 2 games.
Sure.
They got 5 offensive linemen at different spots. 10 games. Guess what just came around, Peter? Game 11 and 12.
Yeah.
Hello.
Hello, and how are you? How are you to the running game? You're exactly right, because Rachaad White, 25 carries for 102 yards, 84 yards of rushing, and plus over 84 yards in the last 3 straight games. So the running game is starting to come alive. Chase Edmonds contributing to that, over 125 rushing yards. And to me, that's a scary thing, because you look at it at the end of the day, right? What do you need to win in the playoffs? And the Bucs are in the playoff chase here. They can win the NFC South, but what do you need? Don't turn over the ball. Have a quarterback that can make some throws. We know Baker can make some throws. We also know that Baker can miss some throws. And then also have a running game and a defense that's good enough. And I've been very critical of this defense. Say whatever you want to. They still are giving up a lot of big plays, blown coverages, 9-man front, which is unacceptable. I don't understand that. No wonder the Atlanta Falcons scored a touchdown. But with that being said, you cause turnovers, you get stops, you have a running game, and you don't turn over the ball. Guess what? You can win games in the postseason, right? Because the running game travels.
Absolutely. The two things travel, the running game and defense. That's what's got to travel, because we're going to find out. And I'm going to ask Coach Canales this tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
When you go and play indoors, what's tougher for being an outdoor team? Playing indoors or playing in the elements? And that's going to be an interesting question to ask him, because I think he's going to say the elements, because you go indoors, that's controlled. You know what you're getting.
Yeah.
You go up to Green Bay, you don't know what you're getting. In fact, that can change from first quarter to third quarter, for sure.
Were you surprised by Green Bay and their loss to the Giants? I know it's any given Sunday, but here's a team that looked like they had lots of confidence. Jordan Love looked like he was assuming the role of a franchise quarterback. And then all of a sudden, here comes Tommy DeVito and his agent from The Sopranos. They are on the sideline defeating the Green Bay Packers. Can you make any sense of this right now? And then also on Monday night, Tennessee, which, by the way, a lot of Bucs fans said, well, Tennessee's not a great team. The Bucs beat them 26. Guess what? They just came back and beat the Miami Dolphins 28-27. So it's any given Sunday, not for long if you don't play your best game, right?
Oh, absolutely. And again, we had Ron Jaworski on. He said every game is the next important game. You know, people got to understand, the guys in the other colored jerseys are getting paid.
Sure.
They're getting paid. So, yeah, they're going to have some people. And again, Steve Arcardapone brought this up. I asked him when we talked about tackling Derrick Henry, I said, are you making a business decision? He said, no, you're making a retirement decision. Because that guy is a beast. Peter, I said this in August, and I said it on Gus Kattengill's show with ESPN New Orleans. I said, you're going to have a 3-way horse race in December. Don't be surprised if it's a 3-way tie. Guess what it is, Peter? With 4 to go. It's a horse race and a 3-way tie. Yeah,
it's a 3-way tie, and, parity is prevalent. We're on with the legend himself, Leo Haggerty, former Coach Scott and now media member of Night Sports Productions, Zamped Up Sports. I'm your host, Peter Blake, here on the Sports Web, the evolution of sports talk television. If you have a question for Leo, open phone line, 727-255-0391. It's 727-255-0391. You look at Baker Mayfield's numbers, a lot of fans were just tired of it, waiting for Kyle Trask to come in. But there's one thing about Baker. He's a gamer. When this team has their backs against the wall, he's a guy that I feel like you can depend on. But you look at the numbers, 14 for 29, 144, 2 touchdowns. Once again, no interceptions, no turnovers. I mean, what do you make of this? Do you think Baker can have better games? What has happened to Baker? Because I think we're seeing a different quarterback, although you look at his numbers overall, 20 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, nearly 3,000 passing yards. Not bad. In this game, very bad.
Well, you know what, Peter? The bottom line is win the game. You play to win the game. And that's what he did.
Right.
He won the game. And you know what? They're not going to complete every pass. Some of these he throws away just because this isn't going to happen. Throw it at their feet, throw it over their head, throw it to the tuba. Just don't turn the ball over. That's the key part. Because look what happened to the Eagles Sunday night. 3 turnovers. Man, you're not going to beat anybody turning the ball over 3 times. So, again, things you can't control. You can't control turnovers. You can't control injuries. And
All right.
think about this, Peter.
Yeah.
The Bucks could win the South. That guarantees you a home game.
Yeah.
Guess who could be showing up? Philadelphia or Dallas.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what, that ain't a bad thing, because the Bucks by then will be healthy.
Well, by then they'll be healthy, but on top of it, you look at this team for Philly right now. I mean, they're struggling, and you thought they were one of the top upper echelon teams. They played anything but that. I mean, you have the Dallas Cowboys. I think they're playing good football right now. San Francisco 49ers, to me, are clearly the two top upper echelon teams. But the Eagles, for some reason, what has happened? Is it injuries? Is it, teams catching up with them in that secondary? Because that was a big time thing coming into it. Did they have enough secondary? And it certainly seems like they don't. And then on top of it, it looks like Jalen Hurts is really hurt.
You know what, Peter? I talked to Ken Podolak this week, and they are out of safeties. They're out of linebackers. Peter, you talk about next man up. In Philadelphia, it's next men up, because they're not just playing with backups. They're playing with the backups to the backups. Remember that line, and I'll clean this up, Peter. Remember the line in Major League?
Yes.
Who's that freaking guy? That's
pretty much it. Who's this freaking guy?
Yeah,
or
that's
this
pretty
guy's
much what
dead.
it is in Philly.
Right.
The safeties, the linebackers, I'm going, hey, I don't know these guys.
Right.
And again, you can't do something with injuries. And again, everybody's hurt right now. The big thing people have to understand, are you hurt or are you injured?
Yeah.
Everybody's hurt right now. Injured, you can't play. Hurt, you play. And that's just the way it is.
Yeah, who's this freaking guy? Well, mark him. This guy's dead. We'll mark him off the list. We're on with Leo here, who's definitely not dead, bringing it tonight here on The Evolution. I'm your host, Peter Blake. Let's go out to this guy who's never dead, Tampa Bay Ray Kennedy, best of the day. Go ahead and give me your thoughts here on that game win versus the Atlanta Falcons. Is the fan base just a little negative? Welcome, best of the Bay.
You want to talk about negative? What about the prices of those Falcons Carolina tickets going for 58 cents for this weekend's matchup there in Megatron's butthole? Leo, good to see you, brother. And Peter, always.
Well,
always good to see you, Ray.
Yeah, Ray seems like he's having a good time there. I don't know where you're at, but you're having a great time, and I know you're drinking a couple beers here. And look, they definitely, and that would be the Bucks, could take a step forward here if they defeat the Packers. And I tell you right now, the matchup that I'm looking at, guys, and coming into it, and I'll go out to you, Leo, is exactly what we talked about before with White and the running game, 25 for 102 yards. This Green Bay team really not defensively good at stopping the run. Is this the matchup that you exploit with knowing that Baker lately has struggled?
Well, you know what, Peter? When you run the football, the clock runs, and your defense is off the field. So, yes, I think that's an important cog in the machinery this week going up to Green Bay. Run the football, because let's be honest, Baker Mayfield, he's at his best when there's play action. Yeah. But to have play action, he's got to be able to run the football. So, yeah, it's going to be important.
I agree. All right, let's go out to Tampa Bay. Ray Kennedy, is that the matchup you're looking at this point to expose if you're the Tampa Bay Buccaneers? Go with that running game versus that Green Bay susceptible defense?
Yeah, and Leo's reading my mind, because remember when the Packers played the Bucs last year at Raymond James Stadium, this offense with 3 and out, our defense was the one getting IVs at halftime. Well, I always said this since we covered that post-game show. I said Tampa Bay got Tampa Bay'd by Green Bay because they came in here, they controlled the clock, they ran our defense down, and I don't see that happening now. I think this Buccaneers offense and Baker Mayfield, I can't believe I'm saying that, finding their rhythm like you're supposed to late in the season. Maybe that's your run there, Jim Buck. But, the thing is, truth, I agree, Leo, control the clock with the defense, and it's in cold Green Bay. So it's not going to be as big a deal as what was with the humidity in the summertime, but yet you control it at Lambeau Field, expose their weaknesses, win this game, come home showing you deserve to win the NFC South in 2023.
All right, I'll tell you what, stand by, guys. We're going to go out to Mr. J.C. Allen of Sports Illustrated. Welcome to the Evolution, my friend. Your thoughts on this matchup versus the Packers?
Yeah, I think the Packers are a very hot and cold team. They're very inconsistent. They can come out there and they can score points and move the ball down the field. and they can struggle and get beat by a team like the Giants. So, when you're looking at this matchup, you can't take them lightly because you don't know which team you're getting. They've done much better at home, fared much better at home than they have on the road. But you're right, there's some things to exploit. They're not getting pressure. They're they only have 29 sacks, which is 22nd in the league. They're not creating turnovers. They only have 6 interceptions, which is 29th in the league. So there's things that you can use to your advantage there. You look at it, cold weather forecast calls for maybe snow in the morning, sloppy field conditions, good for running the ball. And the offensive line has really come on as of late. So there's definitely challenges. You're going against an all-world corner in Jair Alexander. They've got some big guys up front in Clark and Rashawn Gary, Devontae Wyatt. They've got some good rangy linebackers. So, it's not a game you take lightly, but I think if you look at this game 2 weeks ago, you're like, okay, this is going to be a really tough matchup. I don't know if the Bucs can win this. Look, in the beginning of the season, you say if Jordan Love can get everything together and be that guy, it's going to be a tough matchup. And now after Monday night, you kind of look, well, they are susceptible. They can be beaten, but it's not a team that you can overlook by any means.
Definitely not a team you can overlook here, guys. I want to go out to the 9 personnel defense. Leo, we talked about this. Is this, indicative of coaching at this point? Is this an indictment, if you will, on Todd Bowles? Because this has happened a couple weeks in a row. What do you think of this whole deal? How do you not have 11 men on the field? I could see having 12 on the field, but having 9 on the field, I mean, this is coaching, right?
Well, Peter, and again, remember, 2 weeks ago, I'm asking this question. Why are you playing dime on the goal line? And Todd Bowles had a great answer. Why are we playing with 6 defensive backs? We don't have any linebackers. We're out. And he said, if anybody else would have gone down, I'd have had to put a corner in there at linebacker.
Yeah.
So you know what probably happened? They got in the goal line situation, and they didn't have anybody put in. So they went goal line. Okay, well, wait a second. Is that me? I'm nickel. I'm dime. Do I go in?
Whitehead could have played linebacker, Leo. I'm kidding. Jordan Whitehead.
Yeah.
He's not on the team here, Ray. Stop.
Somebody run on the field, right? Just something go on the field.
Right. Exactly. So Ray,
Peter, before you go on,
yes.
Can I take about 30 seconds of personal privilege here?
Sure, go for it.
JC, I want to really, on the air, thank you, because you're one of the few people after my cancer surgery that reached out to check on me. I really appreciated that.
Absolutely, you're family, Leo. You're when I got on this show early on, you were one of the guys doing it, and you were one of the guys who's been in the business, been in the industry, and always someone to look up to, and who's been around the block, seen a lot. So that always want to make sure you're doing good. It's great to see you at the pressers and everything like that, and at the game this past week, doing your thing still. It's awesome to see.
Well, I appreciate that.
It is awesome to see, and that's why he's a legend here on the Evolution. We got Leo Haggerty, of course, Tampa Bay, Ray Kennedy, Best of the Debate, and JC Allen of Sports Illustrated. I'm your host, Peter Blake, giving you something to think about here on the Sports Web Live on I Love St. Pete, Bucks Life, and of course these other great platforms. Like and subscribe to them. JC, what do you make of this 9 defense? I mean, this is a couple weeks in a row now. I know there's a lot of fans crying out that Todd Bowles is not a good coach, along with his coaching staff trying to get them fired. I mean, what do you say?
Wait, Peter, can I ask JC the question first, please?
No,
can I ask him a question? I'm dying.
You can't. I'm going to go out to JC. JC, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, no worries. We got to love Ray.
Yes.
We touched on it a little bit today on the JP Peterson show with featuring Peter Blake with the Sports Web. But yeah, we it's one of those things. I think Leo summed it up a lot, right? Probably some confusion who goes in for that situation. You have those multiple linebackers and defensive players, for those big body situations. It's definitely something that I think is not 100% on Bowles. That's on Larry Foote. That's on Casey Rogers to make sure they have the right guys in the game. Bowles is calling the play, but then it's, up to his assistant coaches to make sure he's getting guys in there. You look at, just kind of go back to that goal line play the Patriots against Seattle. That wasn't Belichick sending Malcolm Butler out there at the last minute. That was the assistant coaches. So, well, yeah, Bowles should, he shoulders part of the blame for, I guess, not having his assistants ready or not having them, if that was situations to come up, not having them ready. But that's a shared blame. It's a shared blame on the players for not knowing who's supposed to be in there. It's a shared blame on the assistant coaches and Todd Bowles. So it's not just one guy's fault, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I tell you right now, I think it does show it. Maybe it is not just one guy like Todd Bowles, but it definitely shows that there are points in the game where situational football, it could definitely cost you. And it costed them on Sunday because you have 9 guys. You're not going to stop anybody. And, of course, the Atlanta Falcons score a touchdown. I want to go out to Mike Florio here. And, JC, I know you got to go. Leo, we got you on a pitch count tonight. Ray, I know you're in there. Ray, do you have something to ask JC really quick? Because I know you have to go here eventually. So what's your question for JC?
Thank you. I wanted to ask JC. Of course, I shouted out this week. I said, JC, of course, if you don't catch JC's updates on the Pat Aaron Show on WDAE, I reached out because they teased a commercial break. They said, we got JC Allen of SI Sports Illustrated on the other side. And I'm like, I don't remember the last time I just stayed through a commercial because I'm like, nothing's going to make me miss this segment because, the old man brain, I might forget and I go back. And I just love that I have the kind of relationship that I could reach out to JC immediately and tell him that, JC, you're doing a great job. But I want to ask you because I've always been a Kyle Trask guy. And I hear you with Pat and Aaron talking again, WDA, Pat Aaron Morning Show. Isn't Tampa Bay ready for him? Do you think that there's the possible mixing here for a magical Baker Mayfield? Let's get jiggy with it toward the end of the season with the right defense and a run that Buccaneers can make, surprising people with the victory this weekend in Minnesota or Wisconsin.
Yeah, I think obviously, they've been stringing together some good games here recently. I think the only way you see Trask is if they're mathematically eliminated, and then maybe let's get a look at him. But even that, I think could potentially be a far stretch. I think they'll want to, they're going to ride the season out. It's 4 games. They'll probably ride the season out with Baker no matter what happens here in the upcoming games. But, it's going to take the Bucs playing just their opponent. They can't play themselves, and that's what's happened week after week. You look at the penalties on offense, false starts, the holding calls. You look at the penalties on defense, a hands to the face call, wipes out an Antoine Winfield Jr. interception, miscommunication on the back end. I know they've got a lot of young guys, a lot of guys who are playing hurt, a lot of guys who are filling in for guys who are hurt. So, there's some of these relapses in communication. Obviously, we started on that touchdown to Kyle Pitts, just wide open. We saw, I think Drake London had 4 receptions of 20-plus yards, including that 45-yarder that really kind of set up the Desmond Ridder touchdown. That was the go-ahead score at the moment for the Falcons. So these lapses in communication and mental errors and mistakes have really hurt them and taken them out of games and slowed momentum and given momentum to other teams. So as long as they can continue to avoid those types of situations, play the football that they know they can go out there and kind of work the matchups to get the guys involved. They need to get involved. There's definitely a possibility for them to make a run here. None of these teams are unbeatable. There's no juggernauts. Even, the Jaguars are playing well, but I mean, that's a home game for the Bucs.
Yeah.
Kind of a home game for the Jags. There's only a 3-hour drive, so it's not like a, big travel for them, but it's definitely a possibility. I don't see, they control their own destiny. They know that. They know they got to put the work in, get it done right, and they'll be NFC South champs. And even if they don't, I mean, let's say they don't win the NFC South, but they win 3 out of the 4. They're in wild card contention right now. I mean, that's the craziest thing. I asked Bowles about that today.
Right.
The parity in the league, you've got 4 teams who are at the top right now, and the Lions just lost to Chicago. So could they be going on a late season skid? You've literally got 4 teams that are in that top tier, and the rest of them, they're all right there, 6-7, 7-6, fighting for a wild card spot. And that's not out of the question for the Bucs too.
Yeah, and I think, Leo, that they would prefer to win the NFC South because you do get that home playoff game. And, of course, you're the 4th seed. If you have to settle for, the 7th, then you're going on the road and playing somebody that you don't necessarily want to play. With that being said, gentlemen, we'll go ahead and wrap it up here with this final
that fifth
question.
seed would be perfect for them.
Yeah,
because
well,
that fifth seed, you're most likely playing. You're probably, oh no, the sixth seed rather.
yeah,
Sixth seed, you're probably playing Detroit. You know, and you were close with Detroit. I think they'd rather play the Eagles of Detroit than probably face Dallas, to be honest with you.
I agree. I
And I
completely
mean, if you look
agree.
at Dallas last year, they were banged up on that offensive line. Obviously, Jensen was just a shell of himself, and Wirfs was banged. I don't even. Did Wirfs play last in that game? Wirfs didn't even play against Dallas, did he?
I thought he did. Yeah, he
Or
played.
was that the Rams game that Wirfs didn't play in? He
Yeah,
didn't play
the
in one of
Rams
those.
game. Yeah,
Okay.
the Rams game. He played in that game last
Yeah,
year.
but
Yeah.
I mean, I think they hung in there with the Eagles until halftime, until they started to pull away. Same thing with the Lions. I mean, if you get that sixth seed, now you play Detroit, now you advance, and but you always want the home playoff game, especially owners do for that money.
Yeah, no, absolutely. We're on with JC Allen of Sports Illustrated and, of course, Leo Haggerty of Amped Up Sports. Let's go out to Mike Florio talking to Baker Mayfield the other day. Mayfield had this to say: I would love that, staying in Tampa Bay. God's got a plan for me. If we win games, that'll all should take care of itself. But I'm going to enjoy this past Sunday's victory over the Atlanta Falcons. And then on to the next one. We control our own destiny. So it's one game at a time mentality. Leo, if you're the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, you win the NFC South. He still continues to put up good numbers, namely Mayfield. Do you consider bringing him back next year with a contract, knowing that he's probably going to get a raise from that $4.5 million? But right now, as the body of work has presented itself, has he done enough to be the starting quarterback of the Bucs in 2024? In your opinion, yes or no?
Absolutely. Yeah. Right. As of now, yes. But Peter, it's all going to come down to these last 4 games.
Okay.
You've got to get the team to the playoffs. And the only way to get to the playoffs is winning the NFC South, because I got the team probably at 8 and 9 as the winner. So it's going to be still a horse race down there, because they're going to have to go to Carolina once. They got to New Orleans coming here. You got the Jaguars. So yeah, it's not an easy road to hoe, but the Saints and the Falcons, they got the same trick. It's not like one of them's got a real easy shot to go there, because New Orleans and Atlanta are going to play each other. So that may be a knockout game itself.
What about you, JC? Do you think Baker has done enough right now to earn a contract extension with the Bucs in 2024?
I think it depends on if they make the playoffs. I really do. Because if you don't make the playoffs, you're probably looking at a top 10 pick, or right outside a top 12. And then I think you can make a play at a quarterback in the draft. I mean, if you look at the landscape of who's going to be available potentially in free agency, you've got Baker Mayfield. Kirk Cousins doesn't look like he's going to leave Minnesota. And even if he does, he's coming off an Achilles at the age, I think he's 32 or 33. Do you want to take a gamble on a contract to him? Garoppolo's most likely going to be cut. Do you want Garoppolo? I don't think you do. I mean, you just kind of look around the landscape of the league. There's really nothing out there. Maybe a Ryan Tannehill. Is Ryan Tannehill an upgrade over a guy like Baker Mayfield? But, I mean, of course, it also depends on what happens with this coaching staff, you know? If they make the playoffs, they lose in the playoffs, but the coaching staff is fired, does the next guy want to keep Baker? Is he interested? What's Baker's contract look like? You know, is it something more similar to Geno Smith, 3 at 75? Do you want to pay Baker that? That's very low-end quarterback money. You're certainly probably not going to get him for anywhere around 15. But again, too, you've kind of got the leverage. Is another team going to pay Baker? Does another team want Baker to come in and be their starting quarterback? So who are you bidding against? Can you get him for $20 million over 3 years? He wants to be here. He's happy to be here. He feels like he's found home, for the time being. So there's a lot of variables that go into it, but does he deserve it? I think so, especially if he can lead this team to a playoff appearance. There's things he needs to get better at, but everyone's learning this offense together. It's a new offense, and Um, it's tough to just say yes or no, black or white, because there's so many variables to go into it. But has he deserved a shot? I believe I would say yes.
All right, good stuff, guys. Go ahead and promote yourself, Leo, and then JC, and then we're gonna say bye to Ray because Ray wants to say bye to you guys. So, Leo, go ahead.
You know what, Peter? Before I do that, I was out today at the NCAA Women's Volleyball Final Four.
Whoa.
Nice.
Waiting
Very
to hear
nice. I like.
with Wisconsin's front line. They got two girls, 6'7" and 6'9". It looked like a basketball team out there.
Wow.
They are huge. And I'll tell you what, I have never seen so many tall women in the same place in my life. It was just like, it was athlete after athlete. Peter, hopefully you're going to make it out there tomorrow night so we can see this, because you've got 4 teams in Wisconsin, Pittsburgh, Texas, and Nebraska. And Nebraska played in front of 92,000 fans out in Nebraska. They played on the football field, 92,000. So, yeah, it's going to be some great volleyball tomorrow night and then the finals on Sunday. But, again, go to Amped Up Sports. You'll find us there. I put up a daily post. And sometimes I'm the only media member there doing it. So it's kind of comical about what happened out there Sunday. And Peter, we'd be remiss if we didn't talk about Jose Fernandez getting his 450th win.
Oh, that's amazing for him. Great coach. Of course, for the USF women's basketball team has done a tremendous job. Leo, thanks a lot for the reminder. JC, go ahead and promote yourself, and then we'll get out to Ray. Stand by, Leo. Go ahead, JC.
You know Peter's going to be at that volleyball tournament.
Oh, yeah.
I'm gonna cover it with my
short shorts
and whatever, and yeah.
High five.
There you go. All right.
Nice. Yeah, you guys can find me, all my work at JC Allen NFL on X. All my stuff is over on Sports Illustrated, Bucks Game Day, so tune in there. I got the podcast Pirate Parlay. Just had Rashad White on this week. I had Luke Haggerty on next week. Might have a really big name Buccaneer guest next week. I'm not going to cross my T's and dot my I's before it's official, but talked to him today in the locker room, and I think I'm going to get him on. So he's quite a well-known guy. Led the league in a certain statistic a few years ago. I'll give you a little teaser, but hopefully we can get him on. But other than that, I'll be in Green Bay for the game this week, so super excited about that.
Nice, man. Nice.
So,
you deserve it, buddy. You deserve it. Thanks a lot for your time here, Ray. Say goodbye to him. And nobody can hear Ray. So there you go. That's awesome.
No, Peter, leave me for a screen with these guys. Because first of all, Leo, I knew the first time Peter invited me to come to a press conference, we were covering the Outback Bowl game, and we went over and we did the presser over there on, forget the hotel, and covering with Amped Up Sports with you, and what that meant for me. And of course, going up through now, we're credentialed now, and I hope you don't mind. I mentioned it on the Facebook Live earlier. Again, Amped Up Sports, and how we're covering the ReliaQuest Bowl this year between the Wisconsin Badgers and the LSU Tigers. I want to be short, guys, but I want to tell you, all three of you, how much I love you, and I want to say thank you for that, Leo, because doing that is so much fun. And we can't, and not only that, but the crew we have at Amped Up Sports and how we're covering it. And of course, JC Allen, I did a shout out earlier, and because he's the one with SI, so I had to get him in a conversation. And I wanted to tell you that I love you, JC. Go to my Facebook page and watch the live, guys. And Peter, I love you, and you know that. So I'm going to get out of here so you guys can respectfully get out of here. I want to say I love all three of you guys.
All right.
Okay.
All right, Tampa Bay, Ray Kennedy right there.
Love you, Ray.
Right there. There you go, right there. Thanks, guys. Appreciate you. We'll go out to Green Bay, Bob, in just a moment. Let me go out to my co-host here. Here we go. Harry the Greek, professional handicapper extraordinaire here on the Sports Web. How you doing tonight, my friend?
My brother, I'm doing pretty good, Peter. Thanks for having me on. As usual. What's going on, brother?
What's going on, buddy? We're just talking Bucs football. Big-time Bucs win over the Falcons, and, of course, getting ready for the Green Bay Packers. I know not necessarily one of your favorite teams because, of course, you're a Chicago Bear fan, but that's okay. I listened to this guy call A Legend Show, Steve Dumick, of course, the big dog. He would
Oh
call
wow,
in.
I miss Steve Dumig.
I do too. And I tell you right now, that was must-hear radio every afternoon. This gentleman would call in. He's also an author of a new book called Run It For. I'm sorry. He'll have to go ahead and give it to you because I thought I had it in my head here. Let's go out to Mr. Green Bay Bob Fox. What is the new book here? Jerry Kramer and you wrote it together. Run to Victory, is it not?
Run to Win.
Run to Win. What am I saying? Run to Win there. Green Bay Bob, thanks a lot for joining me here on the Evolution of Sports Talk Television. And first, I got to start out with saying, I remember you calling the Big Dog Show. Go ahead and give me a memory of Steve Dumig that nobody knows about, or something that you know will make somebody think about him or remember his show when it was on almost every day on WDAE.
Well, you know, I first started calling Steve, I believe, in 1991 when he was hosting with Scott Brantley. And then he got his own show a few years later. And I, you know, called pretty much, I think, you know, 2-3 times a week. And we talked. And, you know, I wasn't always Packers. You know, we talked Lightning, we talked Rays, we talked Bucks, we talked whatever. But every once in a while, you know, especially when the Bucks would play the Packers, he'd give me a full segment to give a scouting report on the Packers. And I remember one time he gave me this whole segment and I gave my scouting report on the Packers. And the next caller was a fan from the Packers that had come down to Tampa for the game. And he says, yeah, I want to talk about the Packers. And he goes, nope, we only talk about the Tampa Bay Bucks here. And the guy goes, you just like Green Bay Bob, you have about 10 minutes. And he goes, well, you're not Green Bay Bob. And he hung up. So that's one of my favorite memories of Steve. He was such a great guy. Like I said, I talked to him probably 25 plus years, thousands of calls when you think about it, you know, 2 or 3 times a week, thereabouts, 52 weeks a year. So just had a great relationship with him. Saw him many times at the Sapien Times Forum. Now it's Amalie Arena. And we talked before the game when the Lightning would play, especially in the playoffs when they had their first Frozen Cup, when they won their first Stanley Cup.
Right.
And that was such a great memory. And it's just been a great time to talk to him and everybody at WDAE and everybody here in Tampa. And by the way, those the segment before I got on with all the guys giving their synopsis of the Green Bay Buck game, I thought was excellent.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. You know, we call this the Evolution of Sports Talk Television, and I listened to him for so many years and kind of got some of my inspiration from that. I don't know if it's a TV show. It's kind of a TV show, a radio show without the station. Of course, you got comments and phone calls, and you're always welcome here, Green Bay Bob. Let's talk about it.
Well, it kind of depends. Are you from Green Bay, Bob?
No, I'm actually from Milwaukee.
That's okay. Well, because my skin was kind of crawling because they keep calling you this Green Bay Bob thing. I mean, I don't know, man. You know, why don't you just come to the dark side, because it's going to get really ugly. Travel 80 miles south into this great city called the Windy City, and there's a football team down there that has a quarterback by the name of Justin Fields. Just remember his name, because it's going to get really ugly for Green Bay in the future. Just to let you know that.
I mean, what do you think about the rivalry between the Packers?
Oh, it's the greatest rivalry in football, Peter. My God. And it's, you know what's really cool? We can throw a lot of banter back and forth. It's actually one of the friendliest rivalries in football. I've been to Lambeau before. I've been to Soldier Field when Green Bay's been around. I mean, there's this huge party. I mean, just imagine all these drunk people. Okay, because trust me, it starts at 7 in the morning. It could be 20 below zero. It doesn't make a difference. They got the fire pits going. Everybody's got their barbecue grills going, the brats, the curds, the alcohol. And it doesn't make a difference if you were a Green Bay fan or a Chicago fan. Whoever's walking by, come on by, grab a brat and a beer. But if you're by Chicago, it's like, here, grab a beef sandwich and a beer, you know. Tell them, Bob, what do you think of the rivalry?
Well, you know, first of all, George Halas, in 1957, when the Packers were still in their antiquated stadium called Old City Stadium, which is basically a high school stadium, he helped campaign for a new stadium in Green Bay. And of course, that ended up becoming Lambeau Field, which is now sort of the crown jewel of the NFL, the oldest stadium in the NFL. And it's really become quite a place to be now with the atrium and the Hall of Fame and all the other stuff they got going on there.
Without question.
And then in 1960, when the NFL got their contract, their big TV contract, guys like George Halas and a couple other owners wanted to make sure there was revenue sharing. So teams like Green Bay could exist in the NFL. Without revenue sharing, the Packers would have been gone decades ago. So that was George Halas again coming through. And then also in 1959, when the Packers were looking for a new head coach after their 1-10-1 season in 58, George Halas went to bat for a guy named Vincent Thomas Lombardi, and that's who the Packers hired. And those two became fast friends, and Vince idolized George. He really did.
All right, let's talk.
Maybe that's the reason why that they weren't real. I mean, even though there were rivalries, but it was never nasty. It was very rare to be nasty. Very, very, very rare.
It got nasty with Forrest Gregg when he was a coach.
Yeah, you know what? That was a whole bunch of BS. You know, to be honest with you, what he did with Charles Martin and some of those other players. I mean, for those of you that don't remember this, Peter, you might remember it, and I know you want to talk about something else, but this is really cool that he's on there because a lot of people didn't know this. People remember Walter Payton, Willie Gault, and Jim McMahon, and there was a couple of other players. And Charles Martin, God rest his soul, he passed away, had a towel that was perfectly laced, and it went down the front side of him, and it had all the people's numbers that they wanted, they were out for hits. I mean, they would talk about, you know, and he would scratch it out. Number 9, Jim McMahon, when he picked him up in that dirty slam that you see, and it was one of the worst, most egregious hits and dirty plays you've ever seen in the history of football. And then he sees him on the sideline with a Sharpie crossing his number out. And then he went after Walter Payton and knocked Walter Payton out of the game and just crossed his name out. Let me tell you something. Forrest Gregg, he was no good, brother. I'll tell you what, that for what he did to the opposing teams and players, and it wasn't just the Bears, he was a dirty coach.
Yeah. Well, he was a Hall of Fame ball player.
Yep.
But I've talked to some players that have played under him in Green Bay.
Yep.
And he wasn't beloved, let's put it that way.
No, he was a dirty player, and a lot of players had a hard time with some of the antics. Peter, you talk about what happened in New Orleans. You remember?
Yeah.
We don't have. This was that on steroids.
Bounty gates.
It was bounty gates, but they were open about it.
Right,
Bob, weren't they? I mean, they were showing it right there. We're going after him, and then 2 plays later, bam! It was horrible.
You know, Mike Ditka, you know, he got the last laugh, of course, with the fridge. Getting that, you know, in his national TV exposure on that Monday night game against the Packers.
Yep, with the running touchdown and the passing receiving touchdown.
Yeah, and, you know, so Mike got the last laugh. And, you know, there's so much history there between the two teams. Here's the funny thing about it is, I think the Packers are down 20-some games in the overall series between the team that started in 1921. Like in 1992, the Packers were down 20.
And now they're up.
They're up 10 because of the Favre Rodgers eras.
Yep.
And that tells you how much quarterbacks mean to franchises. And like you were just talking about with Justin Fields, I know earlier in the year, and believe me, I watch and read a lot of the stuff in Chicago. Everybody wanted to bury him. But now
absolutely. A lot of people don't realize is this team could be already a 9-win team if it wasn't for a couple of plays here and there. I mean, Detroit, Denver. But anyway, you know, going back to what you're saying, they just announced, and I don't know if you knew this or not, Bob, but they announced in the year 2036, Jordan Love will be the next Green Bay Packer.
You shut up and be quiet. So we're on with Harry the Greek, professional handicapper extraordinaire, and of course now Green Bay Bob Fox here, author of new book with Hall of Famer guard from 2018 from the Green Bay Packers, Jerry Kramer. I'm your host, Peter Blake. It's the Sports Web. Let's talk about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers from an outsider's perspective. What do you see with this team, Bob?
Well, just like your previous guest talked about, if the Bucs are going to win this game, the Packers are ranked number 31 in the NFL in run defense.
Mm-hmm.
They gave up 209 yards rushing against the Giants. That's a big reason they lost that game. And if the Bucs can run the ball, I think they'll have a better than average chance to win the game. And the other thing is, this is, a lot of people don't know this, but this will be the third consecutive year Baker Mayfield has played at Lambeau Field. He first played with the Browns in 2021, last year with the Rams 2022, and now this year. And in those two games previous, he threw 5 interceptions and also got sacked 10 times. And again, he didn't have much of a ground attack. And we're talking when he was with Cleveland, he had Nick Chubb, guys like that.
Right.
So I think the best thing they can do, and like one of your previous guests said, it's all about play action with Baker. They got to get the running game going to make the play action work, because the Packers pass defense, and they've been pretty good, even without Jerry Alexander, who is still iffy. We're not sure he's going to play this week or not. He's been out, the last 5 weeks or so, or 4 weeks.
Sure.
He's their best corner without a doubt, but they've done pretty well without him. But I'll tell you, Mike Evans and all the receivers the Bucs have, the tight ends are playing well. They have the players to make the explosive play if needed, but it all depends on play action, I believe, and that's why the running game has to come through.
Great comment. Jair Alexander, ladies and gentlemen, is supposed to play this weekend. He's not supposed to miss this game because this is going to be a must-win game for the Green Bay Packers. Green Bay right now is a 3.5-point favorite. They are 31st against the run, but this is going to be a game that Green Bay does get it right in regards to, how do I put it? In regards to stopping the run. If Tampa is going to beat Green Bay today, they're going to have to, I'm sorry, on Sunday, they're going to have to do it through the air. Goes against everything that I have been talking about and having to pound that rock. Trust me, Green Bay's not giving up 200 yards. They're not giving up 150 yards this week in rush defense. Believe me when I tell you they are going to get it right for 2 reasons. Tampa does not commit to the run game. And when they do, they're very vanilla and they're going up the middle. And this is where Green Bay really accelerates, especially on that defensive line. Linebacker play has been a little bit suspect this year, especially with the lateral movements left and right, which is east and west. But north and south, their linebackers are getting after it. Little soft at safety right now, but Jair is supposed to be coming back in this game. I do not think he's going to miss it. Green Bay's a 3.5-point favorite. It's going to be a very difficult game for the Buccaneers to go ahead and win it this week. But it's kind of one of those coin flips. Saturday and on Sunday, when I get through, the final injury reports, then I can ascertain exactly what's happening, and then I can turn around and possibly give that pick out. But Green Bay looks like they're in the driver's seat this week.
Bob, are you surprised? I'm sorry, Bob. Are you surprised that they lost to the New York Giants on Monday night? How surprised were you by that?
I thought it looked a little bit like a trap game because they had played so well against some really good opponents, especially beating the Lions on Thanksgiving and beating the Chiefs at home on a Sunday night game. So I didn't. I thought they would win, but I wasn't surprised that they lost. They're still the youngest team in the NFL. Mm-hmm. They were missing some key players. Obviously, Christian Watson was just coming into his own again like he did last year, and he hurt his hammy, and I don't know if he'll be back this week or not. Aaron Jones has been out most of the year with his various injuries, and he's another big weapon. But you can't make excuses. It's got to be next man up mentality for any team in the NFL. And defensively, though, they got pressure on DeVito, but they didn't keep their pass lane. They just were letting him get outside the pocket, get through the pass lanes, and scramble. I think he had 71 yards rushing as a quarterback. Yeah. That's ridiculous. And he had been sacked more than, I don't know how many, 26 times in the last 3 games, and the Packers never sacked him at all. Now, the Packers can put pressure on, but they got to keep that, maintain that gap when they're rushing the quarterback. Of course, Baker Mayfield doesn't have the same type of mobility that DeVito has. Plus, he's got the bad ankle, so we'll see what happens. But
Bob, I got to disagree with you on that. I think Baker Mayfield does have that mobility, like DeVito does. Just DeVito's a little bit younger, and here's Tampa Bay Ray. You notice that he goes from homeless under the box, now he's back in the house, which I absolutely love. But no,
I love the beer too.
You want the beer? Listen, seriously, DeVito is not the quarterback that Baker Mayfield is. He is playing a lot better. I mean, New York's a winner of their last 4 straight games. The problem with what's been happening with Green Bay, especially on defense, Bob, is that they haven't been playing very good gap discipline, especially their discipline on their gaps have been horrible against the run. But again, this week, Green Bay is going to get it together. This is the week that they're going to get that right, especially against the run defense. And they're going to force Tampa Bay to pass the ball. But I will tell you this. I had the Giants winning that game.
Wow.
I had 5 picks last week. Okay. 3 of them were underdogs. The Giants were one of them because I love home dogs. I really do. Get this. The game that I lost, would anybody have ever thought that I would have lost the Raider game? Are you kidding me? I tried to go for 4.
They scored no points.
I tried, and they gave up 2 turnovers, okay, to Minnesota, deep in Minnesota area. They should have won that game. But really, not 1, not 2, not 3. I had 4 underdogs. 4. And of course, there's Tampa Bay Ray just walking around. No, but seriously, the Rays, not the Rays, but the Tampa Bay Buccaneers could struggle mightily against Green Bay, especially against the run.
All right, so that's definitely the matchup I think the Bucs have to expose from that Packer defense. With that being said, where do you stand on Jordan Love? Because much was made. Aaron Rodgers now, of course, a Jet traded there. You have Favre, Rodgers, and now Jordan Love. What do you think about Jordan Love as a quarterback at this point?
Is that to the Greek or me?
Oh, that's to you, Bob. I'm sorry.
Okay. I think, when he's got moments. We showed it in that New Orleans game earlier in the year where in the last 5 minutes of the game, he looked fantastic. And it was basically just a matter of being consistent. And for the most part, he has been. But, I mean, I know we're talking about the Bears possibly having 9 wins. The Packers have also lost a couple of games they never should have lost, like to Denver and the Raiders. And they probably should have beat Atlanta as well. They had chances late in the game. Same thing with Pittsburgh. 4 games they lost on the last possession, but they didn't pull it off. And that's because, again, they're so young, not only with Jordan Love, this is his first year as a starter, but they're young across the board. Receivers, running back, everything else. Offensive line is pretty young. No David Bakhtiari, so you're really young. And they've done better than I thought they would do this year. And I think right now, I don't think there is any doubt, unless he falls completely off the earth over these next 4 games, I think the Packers will be giving him a contract extension in the offseason. I don't know if it'll be a big one.
To Bakhtiari?
No, to Jordan.
To Jordan Love, yeah.
Jordan Love.
I hope and pray to God that you guys sign him to a 20-year deal.
Well, we might make it 18.
I would love to see that. You have no idea. Just don't draft a quarterback. Just asking for a friend.
I think the guy has played well. I thought that this offense has, started.
I think he's perfect quarterback for Green Bay. It doesn't say Aaron, I am an asshole Rodgers.
Right.
Sorry, didn't mean that.
It's okay. It's all right.
Because Aaron's still playing, by the way. That opinion doesn't change until he retires. Brett Favre, one of the best quarterbacks I have ever seen in my entire life. When he played, it was the same as quote that I just gave.
Well, and I got to go out to Bob here. I got to give you the quarterback choices. Who's your favorite quarterback of all time? Bart Starr, Brett Favre, or Aaron Rodgers? And why or why not?
Well, it's got to be Bart. And reason why, it's the championships and what he did in the postseason. It wasn't just he was a lot of people said, well, he was just he called the plays and he was the Lombardi system. He has up until I think Mahomes now is number 1 with the postseason passer rating.
Right.
But Bart for a long, long time was the number one passer rating in the postseason, above Joe Montana with all his Super Bowl wins and everything else. And Bart he had ice in his veins when it came to postseason games, whether it's championship games, Super Bowls, whatever. And, Bart, the Packers back in the day, and again, they're a running team. Obviously, the power sweep was the signature play under Coach Lombardi. And, they threw the ball when they needed to, and Bart was money. So were guys like Boyd Dowler, who, was very good. Another guy I think should be in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. But it's just, Bart was just money when it counted, and Brett and Aaron set all sorts of records in the regular season, MVPs, etc.
Sure.
But and they did win the big dance once apiece, but they should have won it a couple more times, each one of them, and they didn't get it done. And there's a lot of reasons why. You can blame the overall team, defensive or whatever. That Seattle game and the NFC Championship game in 2014 still gnaws at me because of the way they choked that away in the last 2 minutes. But I think Bart, overall track record, and you talk about, I know what you're just saying about Aaron and Brett in terms of their off the field personalities. Bart was as close as a saint, and I met him and I interviewed him. Just a class gentleman, always very, very classy and very humble.
Do you think those 60 Packer teams get enough respect from the NFL? I mean, they always talk about Vince Lombardi, but do you think that team gets enough respect with, the 2 Super Bowls and then the championships? And why don't they get enough respect, in your opinion? Or do you think they get enough?
I think they do in many respects, because a lot of those players are in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. But there's a couple guys like Boyd Dowler, Ron Kramer, who, by the way, Mike Ditka has said on the record the best tight end he ever saw was Ron Kramer. He was the first guy that started the trend of John Mackey, Mike Ditka. But Ron Kramer was the first guy that was like the runaway truck. He was a great blocker. The power sweep of the Packers was one of the big reasons why it was successful in the early years, especially, was Ron Kramer. Was just a fabulous blocker, but he was also a runaway truck running the seam routes, and he'd get hit by a safety, and the safety would just bounce off him. And he was just an incredible athlete, a 3-star athlete at Michigan, basketball, track, and in football. But guys like that, I think, should be in the Hall of Fame. But I understand, right now the Hall of Fame is sort of a mess the way they've got it with seniors. Now they're allowing 3 in. This will be the last year they're going to allow 3 in one more time. And they've got so many guys that have fallen through the cracks that have not gotten in. It's going to take a long while for that to get resolved. But it's just one of those things. But I'll say one thing about the Bears, and this goes back to the early Bears under Coach Alice, when up until 1946, the Bears won 6 championships and the Packers won 6 championships, the first quarter century of the league. And the Packers had more all-pro players than the Bears did, yet the Bears had 3 more Pro Football Hall of Fame players to get in. And well-deserved, by the way. I'm not saying they shouldn't have gotten in. But the 3 that didn't get in for the Packers, Lavi Dilwig, Vern Llewellyn, and C. Sisbell, should also be in. And that's where I think they don't get the respect. I think the early Lambeau teams didn't get the respect they should have gotten because they won 6 championships under Curly Lambeau. A lot of people forget that.
Right. You're exactly right. And we go out to Jerry Kramer, who you wrote this book with. Once again, Run to Win. Why did it take Kramer so long to get into the Hall of Fame? 2018? I mean, he could be considered one of the greatest guards of all time. What gives here, Green Bay Bob?
Well, great question. First of all, he, again, was all-decade in the 1960s, first team all-decade. He was also 50th anniversary team. He was the only guard on the first team, on the 50th anniversary team. So this is 1969. And but I think there's a number of reasons. The book was probably prevalent. Instant replay was sort of like Ball 4 with Jim Bouton. A lot of people didn't care for that. Opening the curtain inside the locker room type of stuff that Jerry did. And a lot of people, maybe some voters back in the day, thought, he was maybe giving himself too much publicity or wanting too much, blah, blah, blah. Because Jerry is and still is. You put a microphone in front of Jerry and you want to hear a story, he'll tell it, and he'll tell it well. But I think that was part of it. And, he was up until 1987, he was a 9-time finalist, but he just never got that final vote to get in. And then in 97, he was a senior finalist, and everybody thought he was a shoo-in. And, that was after Super Bowl 31 when the Packers played the Patriots and beat them in New Orleans. And everybody thought he was coming in or going to get in, and he didn't get in. One of the few seniors that didn't get in. Yep. And then finally in 2018, and thankfully I was able to get inside, peel back the onion a little bit and get involved and talk to guys like Rick Gosselin, who, by the way, wrote the introduction in our book.
Nice.
But you had to find out what the process was, what needed to be done, what endorsements did he need, who needs to speak on his behalf, blah, blah, blah. And it finally happened, but it was just a long process, longer than it should have taken. Bart Starr told me that, or Bart Starr Jr. told me, and his dad had told him that Jerry should have gotten in when he got in 77. But, it took, so many years. But, the good thing about it was a hell of a journey. And that's the reason I got to know him. In fact, I met Jerry in 1991, just before Super Bowl 25 here in Tampa at Saddlebrook. There was a golf event with a bunch of former NFL players. And this is like 2 or 3 days before Super Bowl 25, the classic Super Bowl 25 with the Bills. Yep. Anyway, I met Jerry, showed him a letter I had written about why he deserved to be in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. He thought the letter was very nice. And we both thought, any year now, he's getting in. That was 1991. And here it took 27 years later for it to finally happen. But that also blossomed our friendship. And we've been real good friends for many, many years now. And that's what started me getting the book going. And so far it's going good. And, we're very happy that people are loving it. We've been getting some good reviews on Amazon, and not good reviews, great reviews, actually. So hopefully it'll continue. And during the holiday season, this will be a great gift for anybody who looking for something to read. Any sports fan, not just Packer fans, NFL fans, any football fans, I think would enjoy this.
Tell us about the book a little bit, because you sent me a PDF of it. I definitely want to sit down and read it, but it's like I'm doing this, I'm doing that. But I just love the history of the game. And I feel like, if you want to do this, if you want to be a sports broadcaster, you got to not only know what's going on right now, but also the past, because it's respectful. So tell us.
With all respect, Pete needs the one on the DVD, CD, and then he could just put it in a stereo and let it talk to him. Okay, because reading something for Pete for more than 5 minutes, no bueno.
Easy now. Easy, Harry.
There is something for you, Pete.
Yes.
Actually, 2 years ago, I helped produce a DVD of Jerry.
Okay.
See, Pete?
And it's titled "You Can If You Will," the Jerry Kramer story. So that's available on DVD. I'll see if I can get one to you.
Okay.
But with this book, the thing that this is my first book. And the toughest thing about being an author is finding the right publisher. Mm-hmm. And I searched long and hard, looked at some big publishing companies in New York, like Penguin and, Random House and Doubleday and all those types of folks. And ended up with Triumph Books out of Chicago. They're the number one sports publishing company in the country. So we're very, very pleased to have them as our publisher. But the people that were involved with this book that I got to help us out with it, I mentioned Rick Gosselin wrote the introduction. We also have Jeremy Schaap wrote the foreword in the book.
Wow.
And, that's the Schaap connection with Jerry, because Jerry's first 4 books all had Dick Schaap involved. And I have many of Dick's books, by the way, not just his Kramer books, but many of his books. He's just a fantastic author, fantastic media personality, just a great guy. So sad about him passing away 20 some years ago after hip surgery. But anyway, so we have that. We also have a bunch of blurbs about Jerry in the book, including David Marinis, who wrote that great book called When Pride Still Mattered, about Coach Lombardi. We have other names, well-known names. Aaron Rodgers also helped out. He helped out in the film and also the book. Hall of Famer Leroy Butler, David Baker, the former president of the Pro Football Hall of Fame, also added a blurb. We have, and one name that people were shocked at, I was able to get Bud Selig, the former commissioner of baseball, because he's a big he's a Milwaukee guy, and he saw the Packers under Lombardi play quite a few times at County Stadium in Milwaukee. And and Tommy Lee Jones, the actor, he has a blurb in the book. So it's sort of a who's who, but it's just we wanted to not only write about Jerry's football career, and we have a number of chapters about his teammates. I think 28 chapters about his teammates and Coach Lombardi himself. But we also wanted to write about some things off the field that people never heard about, like his encounter with Frank Sinatra. And then the one thing that's never been talked about or never been written about, and he's never spoken about, that's in the book is, do you guys remember the 1973 film called Walking Tall?
Of course.
Yes.
They redid it with The Rock, Dwayne Johnson. I don't.
Yeah, the original movie. The second one was okay, but the original one.
Yeah.
That was Jodan Baker, and that he did a great job in that role. And the guys that produced that, they actually they had a great year. They produced Jaws. They also produced The Sting, and that was another one. And Walking Tall was the third film from that year. Anyway, Jerry got to be really tight with Dick Zanuck was the producer, along with his name is Brown, David Brown. And anyway, they asked Jerry to come to L.A. after they had met him in El Acapulco had done some partying there, New Year's Eve, blah, blah, blah. And they got to be good friends. They said, come to L.A. and let's talk about some things. And they were having lunch, and all of a sudden David Brown came up to Jerry and said, listen, we're working on a film about this sheriff that sort of takes care of business, with sort of like a baseball bat, and takes care of the people that are unruly in town. And we think you'd be perfect for this part. Would you consider taking this lead role? And Jerry, and he was flabbergasted that he was even offered, but he finally said, no, I got so many things going on. And he says he's always regretted that he didn't at least take a shot at it, because the ironic thing about it is his two biggest competitors in football, and we write about this in the book, are Merlin Olsen and Alex Karras, who both were obviously Pro Football Hall of Famers, but also great actors and had pretty good careers in Hollywood. And nobody will ever forget Blazing Saddles, of course. But I mean, with Alex and Mongo, and
did you say Mongo?
Yeah. Anybody who can knock the horse out.
You're talking about Steve Mongo?
Well, but he probably got that name because of the Mongo character in Blazing Saddles.
That's true. Steve Mongo McMichael, God bless him, because again, a lot of people don't know about him. I think he's battling ALS, and how he's been around this long is just unbelievable.
And he's also a former wrestler, which we talk about on this show, WCW announcer for Monday Night Nitro in their beginning, and he was also in the Horsemen. So
I have his Super Bowl jersey, by the way.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
And the other thing about Steve McMichael, he's another one of the Bears that played with the Packers for a brief time. So did Jim McMahon. Jim McMahon got a Super Bowl ring. He backed up Brett Favre in '96. I mean, there's so many Bear quarterbacks in the past. I'll give you some names.
Mike Tomczak.
Bobby Douglas.
No, he did not.
Bobby Douglas played with the Packers.
I did. I mean, that's like blasphemy. After the Bears let him go, or before?
Yes. No.
A lot of people didn't know this, that Bobby Douglas was the leading rusher in the National Football League for quarterbacks for many years, until Michael Vick came out.
That's right.
Hey, and this is Bandit. This is what he thinks of Green Bay. Anyway,
wait till I get my cat over here.
Yeah, but Bobby Douglas, hey, my cat's the angry producer, okay? Anyway, Bobby Douglas, for a lot of people that don't know who he was a quarterback for the Chicago Bears in the 70s. The guy could throw end zone to end zone. He could throw a ball 80, 90, no crap, 100 yards in the air. I watched him in practice actually throw a ball from goal line to goal line,
Mm.
but he couldn't throw a ball from the 20 to the 30.
Yeah.
Just think about that. When he threw it from the 20 to the 30, you couldn't catch it because it was coming in at 200 miles an hour. He was just insane. And try doing that at 15 below zero. Okay. Do you know how much that hurts?
Oh yeah.
It's just sick. Yeah, Bobby Douglas. What a blast from the past you just brought up. I didn't know he played for the Packers.
Yeah, he played for the Packers, and of course Zeke Bratkowski had a great career backing up Bart Starr in the '60s. There's a few others, but
I just wish you guys would bring the Magic Man back, Mikowski. Okay, just let him go up under center and sign him.
He won some games for the Packers.
We don't want to talk about the instant replay game, do we? In '89,
No.
I didn't think so.
And then, all right, greatest memory, Green Bay, Bob, here on the Evolution for your Packers, and then we'll let you go off of that.
Well, it's got to be, I was just 10 years old, but it's got to be the Ice Bowl.
Okay.
Oh,
And we write about that in the book quite a bit. It wasn't just the play, because up until that drive, the Packers are down 17-14 with 4 minutes and 50 seconds to go. They're starting at their own 32. Up until that time, the previous 31 plays, the Packers had -9 yards. So even guys like Dave Robinson and Ray Nitschke were thinking, these guys, there's no way they're going to come back and win this game. Yet they found the perseverance and the intestinal fortitude to get that drive done. And it was, the funny thing about it was Bart Starr only completed one pass to a receiver in that drive, and that was to Boyd Dowler, who caught two touchdown passes earlier in the game, by the way. Boyd had a big game. But everything else were either run plays or swing passes to either Donnie Anderson and Chuck Mercine. And the other thing about it was,
well, that's kind of like the Bucs offense this year.
Yeah,
sort of, kind of.
Yeah,
not a lot of deep threats down there.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's the defense fault.
Yeah, but the thing about it, at the end of the game, the one thing that, again, nobody's ever written about, if you ever read Instant Replay, Jerry writes an Instant Replay. Actually, Dick Schaap writes it. Jerry recorded it. He says, Bart comes into the huddle on that final play and says, 31 wedge, and I'll keep the ball. However, when I talked to everybody else that was in that huddle, Carroll Dale, Boyd Dowler, Chuck Mercine, Donnie Anderson, etc.
What did they say?
They said 31 wedge. That's all he said. He never said, I'll keep the ball. And I figured out when Bart and only Jerry found out while he was going to carry the ball, when Bart called his final timeout with 16 seconds to go, he asked Jerry, and he said this in the Lombardi film on that NFL Films put out a few years back. He said, I asked Jerry, can you make the wedge block one more time? And Jerry said, yes, I can. And we both figured and they were just standing alone. They weren't in a huddle. They were by themselves. And I think that's when Bart told Jerry, I'm keeping the ball. And that's why Jerry was saying that he knew Bart was going to keep it. And the other thing about it was, on Thursday before the game, they were looking at film clips, and Jerry says to Coach Lombardi as they're going through film, he goes, I think we can put a wedge on Pugh. And Lombardi goes, what? He goes, I think we can put a wedge on Pugh because he stays real high. And Lombardi goes, run that back. And he goes, you're right. Let's put a wedge in on Pugh. And that's why they ran the play at Pugh, because there's a classic photo, end zone photo of that sneak by Bart. And you can see Jethro Pugh standing up right next to Leroy Jordan, who's the middle linebacker of the Cowboys. And they're standing like shoulder to shoulder with each other. And, most linemen like Bob Lilly and guys like that, they, submarine into the ground. You can't get through them. But for whatever reason, Jethro went high, and Jerry noticed that on film. And that's why they went that way on that particular play. And when Bart scored the touchdown, obviously, it was probably the signature moment of the Lombardi era, in my opinion.
I must have watched that game a half a dozen times, and then I'll let you go. Green Bay really took the will out of that team, especially on that last drive of the game. You knew while watching it, from just being a fan of football that, Dallas was done. Plus, it also helped because we already knew the result. Because, like I said, it was just a replay of it.
Yes, indeed.
All right, Green Bay Bob, once again, go ahead and promote this great book that you did with Jerry Kramer. Once again, Run to Win. Go ahead and promote that here on the Evolution of Sports Talk Television, my friend.
Okay, yes. People, especially during the holiday season, be free to reach out to various sources for it. Triumph Books is our publisher. Amazon's got the book. Walmart's got the book. Target's got the book. Barnes & Noble, Books A Million, the Green Bay Packer Pro Shop. Any bookstore pretty much in America can order this, and feel free to go for it. And I think it'd be a great holiday gift for anybody in your family or any friend. I think you'll really enjoy it. And again, we've gotten the reviews on Amazon, and every one of them has been really good. And hopefully that'll be the same with everybody else who gets the book. But thank you so much for having me on. I really enjoyed it, and enjoyed all your guests as well.
Before you
Absolutely.
go, final score prediction for this weekend's game, Bob.
Good
Final
question.
score, I would say 20-17 Packers.
All right, there you go, Mr. Green Bay Bob Fox, author, and of course, great caller of the Steve Dumick Show, the big dog here. If you don't know, in the Tampa Bay area, one of the legends of the radio business. Appreciate your time here on the Evolution, all right?
Thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
Yep, there you go, Green Bay
See you, Bob.
right there. I'll tell you what, let's get that book off the screen there, but I'm interested in it. He sent me a PDF of it. I'm definitely going to sit down and read it.
You gotta get the CD.
I got to get the DVD. That's what I got to do.
You gotta get the CD because
Okay.
you and I both know you're not gonna sit there and read it. But if you're listening to it while you're Ubering or something, I'm telling you, it'll make the time go by a lot better.
Don't give
What a
away
good-
all my
what a
secrets
good-
of what I do.
what a-
I do like 4 or 5 jobs at a time. Come on,
What
now.
a good
Don't give it away.
what a good guest you had in here, especially with a Green Bay fan. And I behaved myself.
You did. You were good.
I
Ray
behaved myself.
Is Ray still there? Where's Ray at?
No, Ray already left. He
Okay.
kind of crawled in here, grabbed a beer, and right
He
out the
was
door.
swimming
He's going
around.
back up underneath his cardboard box.
Well, he was swimming around, and he was doing the penguin, and he was doing Borat. Okay, I think this is the Marine right here from I Love St. Pete. Hey, my man Pete, I think it's going to be a tough one in Green Bay. What are your thoughts on this? Any shot they can secure a win versus the Packers? I mean, you said it's going to be tough.
Tough game, Pete.
Yeah,
This game's going to be extremely tough in Green Bay because, as I alluded to from before, I didn't really allude to it. I watch a lot of tape. I handicap a lot of games.
Sure.
Green Bay is a shell of what they were from a couple of years back, but I'm going to tell you this right now. This team is very capable of playing really, really good defense against teams that are suspect of running the balls, and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are very suspect against it. Let me remind you, this team, it can get after a quarterback. Okay. They have definite good presence on their edge, but for some reason, for about a 5-game stretch, they were not very disciplined in their gaps against the run. And that's when their statistics really started to increase. Let me tell you something. New York did a fine job exposing it.
Sure.
It's not going to happen 2 weeks in a row. They are going to go after to stop the run and force Tampa to pass the ball. And if they fall behind Tampa, this could be a very, very long day for Tampa Bay, unfortunately.
Well, we'll see if they can get off to a fast start. But, this offense, this team overall, they did get up 19-10, kind of blowing the lead. But they've been, they gotten off to slow starts. I love the fact, and I told Leo this, and I was laughing about it because I was thinking, maybe this team could run the table, as crazy as it sounds, not just because of their coaching or Baker Mayfield, because Baker's not turning over the ball, even though he's not necessarily playing his best football. But the running game is intriguing to me, and it certainly seems like the offensive line's got confidence. Rashad White has got confidence. It seems like they're running the ball now.
No, they're running the ball better. It's
Right.
not the point of running the football. It's the consistency. You had a caller on the post-game show.
Yes.
Okay, and I forgot the young man's name, one of the best callers you've ever had because he actually made sense about what he was talking about.
Sure.
They said it's not that they had so much success at running the football, it's because they kept running the football that it finally opened it up. That's exactly what it was.
Well, I'll tell you what, let's go out to the phone lines. Welcome to the Evolution. You're on with yours truly, along with Harry, the great professional handicapper extraordinaire. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, Peter, it's Adam from Davenport. How are you guys doing?
Doing great, buddy. Getting
Hey,
ready
Adam.
for Bucks versus the Packers. Baker Mayfield saying he wants to come back. Let's start off there. How confident are you, Adam, in this Bucks team to go to Green Bay, go to Lambeau, and get a victory and go 7-7?
Well, you know what? And we've talked about this all season long. No one gave the Buccaneers a hope in anything this season. And of course, Baker Mayfield has overperformed. The running game is getting on track, which we didn't have last season. I worry about our defense. You know that. We've talked about this.
Yep.
I'd say that they've got probably the best chance in the NFC South to win the division. That's just my humble opinion.
Harry, is he right? Are the Bucks the class of the NFC South, even though the NFC South is basically it's still the NFC South? Are they the best team in your opinion, or do you?
That's a
really
great question, Peter. But I'll answer that. Hold on for a second. He asked me a question. I go ahead and answer that. Yes, they are the best team in the NFC South. You said something in the beginning that nobody gave this team a chance. You're absolutely correct. Most pundits around the National Football League and all media didn't give this team more than 3 or 4 wins. There was a reason for it. I was the one sitting up here standing on a soapbox screaming from the top of the mountains that this team would win a minimum of 10 games this year, and still could happen. But let me ask you a question after week 3 with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. You were saying, hey, the Greek was right. This team could definitely play some football. And then they started playing the Philadelphia Eagles. And then they were playing the Detroit Lions. And then they were playing these other teams that made them look very pedestrian. And all of a sudden, everybody wanted to jump off the bandwagon. 3 weeks ago, everybody's talking about they're completely done. They're out of it. They're dead and everything else. Now you're back in first place. You know what? There was a guy by the name of Blake Anthony. A lot of people should know Blake. Blake's been on this program. He was with Peter for a number of years, and he posts a lot of things. And he posted something on one of his pages where and again, I felt really bad because I said, boy, this division sucks. I mean, they're just horrible.
Right.
I want someone to come out there and tell me, other than the NFC East, the NFC East and the 2 top teams, can someone tell me another division in the NFC that's any good? Honestly,
it's a great
nobody.
And Adam, you kind of talked about this.
There's only how many teams have an above 500 record, Pete?
Well, Peter, I that was one of the other topics I wanted to discuss with you. In past seasons, there's in both conferences, there's been a dominant team. We don't have that this year. Your best team in the AFC, I think, is the Ravens right now, record-wise.
Correct.
Really? They're going to come back to reality this week. Watch it.
Right. So there's no 13-0. There's no 12-1. There's no 11-2.
Nope.
There's no dominant team in either conference. What does that mean?
What do you mean? In the NFC, you don't think there's a dominant team?
Well, I would say San Francisco right now, 10-3.
There's not a maybe. That's undoubtedly the best team, not only against the AFC and the NFC. They're literally unstoppable. That's how good that team is.
Can they be beat in the playoffs? That's my point.
By who?
Is that, you used to have teams in the past where you were like, no, they can't be beat. They're going to make it to the championship game.
Right.
Going to make it to the Super Bowl. I think that even the 49ers are beatable in the playoffs. So
not this year.
Well, their offensive line has some question marks. Definitely,
yeah, it does, but that defense doesn't have question
and
marks.
That bothers me because we saw, the 49ers last year, how many quarterbacks they lost. So it's very important to put the emphasis on it, and he's exactly right.
But you or the caller are not going to sit here and tell me if the Tampa Bay Buccaneers were to face the San Francisco 49ers that you think that this team, the way they're sitting right now, would beat the 49ers?
They had a chance
Is
to beat
that
the
what you're saying?
49ers. They had a
Yes.
No,
chance.
not this year.
Well, let me tell you something.
Not in the
They had a
playoffs.
listen,
This
they had
team's on a mission, Peter.
during the regular season a couple weeks ago, they had a chance to beat them, but because of the defense and Jamel
Yep.
Dean falling down and I can't
Yep.
get up like the old lady on that commercial there where Brandon Ayuk, which by the way was not because of Mike Evans or Chris Godwin or Baker Mayfield because they can't cover Brandon Ayuk. It was the defense giving him a big play.
Peter, I was the first to be so critical about Brock Purdy. He's not a quarterback. He's a system guy. Buddy, I'm telling you, I had just watched these last 2 weeks and going through this coach's tape with this San Francisco team.
He's the real deal.
If they continue to play the way they are now, they will not only run the table, they will just dominate like you haven't seen in many, many years. And
But
believe me, I don't like the 49ers.
Harry, I have
This
a
team is
question for
sick.
you.
Absolutely, bud.
If the 49ers go 2-2 the rest of the season, are they the dominant team you say they are?
2-2 the rest of the season. Are they dominant?
No, and I'm going to say why. But then again, you just didn't hear the comment that I just made. I think they're running the table, not only running the table, and they have a tough schedule. I think they're running and throughout the playoffs. This team is starting to hit their gears like you wouldn't believe, man. This is something special. Just enjoy the ride. If this team does what I think it's going to do, just enjoy the ride, because if you're a football fan, you don't get to see teams like this all the time. You're talking about the likes of the 0-2 Buccaneers. This is how good this team is with a better offense.
Well,
I am saying to you, I would be shocked if any team out of the NFC comes through at the end of the season with an 11 and 6 record. I'm saying it. They're all going to go 2-2 the rest. That is how crazy this NFL season has been. Peter, you understand what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
No, I get it. Nothing would surprise me. The Chicago Bears, if they win out, how about this? And the 5 teams that are ahead of them right now go 2-2.
Right.
Did you know they're in the playoffs? Pete, I want you to think about that.
That's crazy. It's crazy right now. And to that point, I think San Francisco is probably your most dominant team in the NFC.
They really are.
What you said,
Philadelphia, I thought, was almost unbeatable. Dallas looks, unstoppable at home.
Even saying that, I still felt like Tampa Bay had a chance to win that game because a play there, a play here, a couple catches by Cade Otton, one there. Devin Tompkins catches it. They let the Bucs get back in the game. They weren't as dominant. And again, I think that's where it goes with the NFL. So if it works out like this, and I think there's certainly a possibility it could work out like this, the Bucs win the NFC South, and guess who they face? The Philadelphia Eagles. And we've kind of talked about this, Harry.
Oh, I want that rematch.
Because you think they can, and to tell you
no. I want that rematch. I want that rematch because I'm the one that stood on that soapbox and gave everybody, look, I've only had 29 losses this season. I don't know if anybody's been following the picks. We're 92-29 in the year against the spread or playing on the money line. One of those 29 losses is when the Buccaneers were catching a ton of points going against the Philadelphia Eagles. And you line that team up again the very next day, I still would have been convicted and taken the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in that game. There were a couple of, I don't know, it was some bad coaching. There was a couple of I still got a bitter taste in my mouth on this.
They had a bad start, and then on top of it, you had opportunities there. You had a turnover. You had a blown coverage. It's kind of plagued the Tampa Bay Buccaneers all year long. Let me ask you this, Adam, and then we'll run. You can go ahead and use your second call if you want to here on the Evolution. Let's say the Bucs win the NFC South, and they happen to upset one of those teams in the first round. In your opinion, does Todd Bowles deserve to come back as this coach? Yes or no?
I knew you were going to ask me this question.
That should be an easy answer.
And the answer is yes. He deserves to come back.
Okay. And what about Baker?
But not if you're in Chicago. You fire a Lovie Smith after 10 wins. But that's okay.
Yes. Well, that's Chicago. That's not Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay fired him for a reason here.
But, Peter, I was prepared for you asking me the question about Baker. And it really depends on the direction you want the team to go in. Baker Mayfield, to me, is what he means to the Bucks is similar to what Trent Dilfer did, and in a similar way, the way Tom Brady did. Tom Brady didn't win that Super Bowl against the Chiefs. That defense did. He didn't cough up the ball. Baker Mayfield has done a great job of not giving away the ball. He is a ball control type quarterback. He will keep a lead in most instances if he has a lead. So it depends on what you want to do with your defense. If you want to make the changes that you need to make this defense as good or better than it was the year they won the Super Bowl, then Baker Mayfield is your quarterback of the future. If you don't care about your defense, then it really doesn't matter who you have as a quarterback. That is my opinion.
All right, good stuff.
Baker Mayfield
Appreciate
keeps his
you.
job.
Yeah.
Before you hang up, actually, you can let him hang up. That's fine. Appreciate the call. Baker Mayfield keeps the job in Tampa Bay if these things happen. One, they win the NFC South. That's not even enough.
Mm-hmm.
Two, when you make it to the playoffs, you have to win a playoff game. If these two things don't happen, not only will Baker Mayfield not be here next year, neither will Todd Bowles.
Yep, exactly. Agree. Somebody was calling in here. Welcome to the Evolution. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, this is Tate from Brandon. How's it going?
What's going on, buddy? What are your thoughts on this
Hey,
Bucks versus the Packers on Sunday?
So, yeah, that's what I was calling about. First of all, I'd like to say that we should re-sign Baker. That's the first thing.
Okay, why do you say that? Because you hear from his comments, you've seen him
because
play
they won a game.
Well, but hold on now. Shut up, Harry. Stop.
It's the truth, though, Pete. This is the realm of everybody that, and no disrespect to the caller, but let's go back 5 weeks ago. Okay, when Mike Evans was dropping, he had 2 bad games, and what's this bum doing on our team? The guy shouldn't be re-signed. You even called for Kyle Trask last week when you had enough of seeing him. Now he won a game because of one game winning drive, and everybody wants to jump on the bandwagon. Let's call it what it is. He doesn't hit his open receivers. He has a hard time seeing over the offensive line. And by the way, I was a Baker supporter. I'm the one who told people on your show way before he came to Tampa Bay that he was probably going to sign here because this could revitalize his career. There's a reason why he's been on 4 teams, and I can see it now. And no, he does not deserve another shot on this team. They need to get it right, whether it's Kyle Trask or they better find a quarterback in the draft.
And when you're done patting yourself on the back, he has 20 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, nearly 3,000 yards. And yes, he definitely does miss some wide open receivers. And yes, I was frustrated with seeing him and the way this offense is
personally cost this team 3 wins this year.
I don't think so.
He has.
I don't think you can personally cost anything. I think it's a team effort, whether it's offense, defense. We got to stop doing that. That's the thing. That's the problem.
That's you and that's your and my thing. I'm going to talk about the defense, put you on tilt, and you're going to talk about the offense.
So, well, we're definitely going to do that. And you could say the defense definitely cost this team a win in San Francisco, and also those wide receivers. We could sit back here and say all day long about what Baker doesn't do right and the defense doesn't do right. And I guess our caller left. I don't know what happened there.
Hey, thanks for the call. That was good, though. I appreciate
a call back if you want to use that second call. Open phone line 727-255-0391.
It really is. But you know what, Peter? It's not just Tampa Bay.
Right.
This is all over the National Football League. Honest to God, man.
I want to go out to TikTok here because future finalist says, who holds a better option than this point, Baker or Tannehill? Let me go out to the tribal troll.
Acknowledge me.
Mr. Roger Shue. Roger, welcome to the Evolution.
My fellow Greekites.
Yours truly, along with your Greek leader here, Mr. Harry.
What's up, gentlemen?
What's going on?
Great show.
Thank you.
All right, Harry, quick question for you.
Yes.
If you had your choice, would you have your starting quarterback be Justin Fields or Baker Mayfield, and why?
That's easy. It would be Justin Fields right now. He can see over the offensive line. Hell, he could see over the linebackers. Wait a minute. He can also see over the safeties, for God's sakes. The problem with Justin, though, is he doesn't see the whole field, okay? He's still learning that for some reason. No, man, seriously. It's not Baker Mayfield. It's definitely going to be Justin Fields. And anybody other than Pete that wouldn't tell me you wouldn't take JF1 here in Tampa, stop.
I mean, I don't
In a
know. I've
heartbeat.
seen him. Listen, you guys are crowning this guy as the next coming here, and then you're talking.
He
about
looks like it right now. Look at
He
the
looks like
stats.
it right now, but does he look like it consistently? We've talked about this.
Yeah, his last
couple
7
years.
games have been
Okay.
just sick.
Okay, so we'll see if he can continue to do this, because I've heard Bears fans also say, well, I don't think Justin Fields is the guy. I think we're going to go with Caleb Williams.
Of
I mean,
course.
make up
That's
your mind
the-
at this point.
That's the point that I was trying to make, Pete.
What's
It's
the
not
point?
just it wasn't just the Tampa fans. That's Chicago. That could be the Minnesota fans. Remember Josh Dobbs came up there. Oh my God, he's the best thing since sliced bread. Now they're like, uh-oh, we need a quarterback. I mean, look what's happening all over the National Football League. 90% of the teams that are out there, their favorite quarterback is the one that's sitting on the bench. Number one.
Sure.
Number two, when someone's not performing, they are going to bury them. And sometimes it's not justified, such as Mike Evans. I will go to bat and defend Mike Evans. I will go to bat and defend certain players that have given their all for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and what they've produced on the field. But I'm not going to sit here and make excuses for a guy that's been on this team for 1 year, hasn't won a Super Bowl, and hasn't really done anything, and that's Mr. One Baker Mayfield.
Well,
Now,
I'll tell you right now, I think that
And
he
he's
is
been on
perfect.
what? How many teams has he been on
So
in the last
what?
4 years?
So what if he's been on 4 or 5 teams? You know what? Sometimes
no, it
it
does.
doesn't,
No, that's a point,
doesn't
Pete.
always work out. No, it's not a good point, because there are
No,
guys
that's
out there.
legitimate, Pete.
No, because Alex Smith was on a couple teams that didn't necessarily work out. And what was the difference? Consistency in coaching, consistency in organization, getting an offensive coordinator that knows how to run a system. If you run multiple systems all the time, of course the quarterback is not going to work out.
Well, there was two things that honestly, there
ask
was
you
two things that Alex Smith had that Baker didn't have. One, he's Mormon. Okay, I know that doesn't mean much to you, but the second thing was, you really want to know what it was? I'm going to tell you what it was. Honestly, he's taller, and he could actually read a defense. And I was not a big Alex Smith. Look, Pete, you knew the way I felt about Baker Mayfield coming into the season. I was 100% behind him. Again, I'm watching a lot of tape, and he isn't very
He's missing
good.
throws. He definitely
lots
misses
of throws.
He's missing some throws, but also it's the fact of
look who's back.
Having a great new offense and everything else. And I get it. Please, guys, come on. We're doing a show here. Stop.
What are you talking about?
Ray,
I think
out there.
the Packers
Yes, go ahead.
are going to come into this game this weekend really, really pissed off, and the Packers are going to beat the crap out of the Bucs.
I wouldn't go that far. I think it's going to be a closer game, but the Bucs could be in trouble for this game.
I mean, they may be, but this offense has definitely struggled, and I think this running game has come alive. But the reason why I say Baker right now is perfect for this situation is because, yes, he's not putting up the biggest numbers, but you cannot doubt this kid's heart and his competitive fire. And even Mike Evans has talked about that competitive fire. So right now, is he one of the top quarterbacks? No, but is he probably one of the top 15 quarterbacks for the money that you got him for? Absolutely. Now, if you have an opportunity to draft somebody, I would still say you go out and draft somebody there. So if you have
that's what I think the best move is. But no, I mean, Baker Mayfield is it shouldn't even.
Why don't you end the Baker Mayfield experience, put in Kyle Trask for the last 4 games?
You can't right now. You can't do that yet.
Sure, because that's exactly what a bad franchise would do. They would put in a quarterback.
You are a bad franchise. You have 5
they're
wins.
6-7, sir. They're going to win the
Okay,
NFC
6
South.
wins.
Okay,
Who cares?
6-7. It is care. That's the problem. That is the problem with some of the fan base.
You're going to win the worst division in football.
And you're not even in the
Congratulations.
conversation to win the NFC North. So what the hell are you talking about, Roger? Come on. What are you talking about here? What are you talking about?
Roger, honestly, hold on, Roger. If they lost, Roger, if Atlanta would have
your team
beat the
has
Buccaneers,
your team hasn't played a winning playoff football in 10 years. So until you go ahead,
why are we talking about the Bears?
Because I'm going to talk about the Bears. That's why, because it's
I'm
my
talking
it's
about
my
the
damn
Bucs.
show. Well, it's
We
my
weren't
damn
talking
show.
about the Bears.
I'm going to talk about the Bears because this guy.
Are you going to pick up your Legos and go home too now?
No, I'm
Come
not.
on, man. I was making a solid point.
Okay,
he
but what
asked
I'm trying
a question.
to say is, no, he addressed this as, who cares? The Bucs are 6-7. They're in the NFC South race. They have an opportunity to win this. Of course, who cares? You wouldn't know what playoff football was if it hit you in the face. The Bears have no chance to win the NFC North this year. Your guy Justin Fields isn't going to do nothing. You're not going to win any more games. You may win a couple more games, but you know what? Justin Fields is inconsistent.
But that's not the question the caller had.
Well, that is the answer that I provided, because the guy wanted to tell me that it didn't matter that the Bucs are in the playoffs.
I'll answer the caller's question, and the question was,
then go
why
ahead.
aren't they playing Kyle Trask? And I said they don't need to play Kyle Trask this week. Had they lost against the Atlanta Falcons, then maybe you go ahead and stick Kyle Trask into the game. But it's not ready for him, because right now you are in first place, and the unknown is Kyle Trask. Now, let's just say they put Kyle Trask in the game. Kyle could be, the savior that everybody was expecting. But nobody's going to take that chance right now, because the organization is not going to do that.
Yeah, I mean, again, they're not going to start Kyle Trask because he doesn't have the snaps. Even though you want to shitball the season at this point, because you think it doesn't matter, it matters. There's still players on this team
because they don't give him the chance.
Because there is a reason why he doesn't have the snaps. Their coaches, they know what they got in him. If they wanted to turn the page, Bucs fans or anybody out there that's a fan of Kyle Trask, they would have turned the page with Kyle Trask instead of going back to Tom Brady, instead of having Blaine Gabbert as the backup. Enough with the excuses, okay? Because if a franchise knows that you're a franchise quarterback, they go with you being a franchise quarterback. It's just like the Green Bay Packers. When they know. They allowed Rodgers to sit on the bench for 3 years until they knew he was ready to go. They let Jordan Love do the same thing, and guess what? They know. This franchise knows what they have. Is there some curiosity there? Absolutely. But you know what? I'm going to trust the organization.
They're going to kick the tires on it if they don't win, Pete.
I mean, they're going to be in this.
They're going to have to. They have to be in it. They're going to have to be in it. They're in the playoff hunt. They're going to be in it. They're trying to win the NFC South. No, at this point, you cannot put Kyle Trask in unless the two things happen. A, Baker Mayfield gets hurt, God forbid, or B, they lose their next couple of games and now they're a game out. Now you're going to see what Kyle Trask is, because the organization has to do it, because they have to see what's going to they're going to have in the young man.
Or they've seen enough in practice.
But they can't.
Just seen in the situations in the preseason where it doesn't have.
Pete,
they don't have
I'm
enough.
I'm not going for that.
Going for the the throw that he made in Indianapolis. That's a bad throw. That's not a good throw. If it were a good throw, Chris Godwin would have had a touchdown. It was a bad throw. Stop putting it out there that Kyle Trask is the answer.
I didn't put out anything
I'm not saying
out there.
I'm just saying there's fans out there that will put this out there.
You're quite bitter about this whole
I'm not
Kyle
quite
Trask thing.
bitter about it, but I'm trying to explain it to people, and we continue to hear Kyle Trask, and there's a reason why you're going to go with Baker Mayfield in the first place.
But there's a reason why the people want to see it, Pete.
And there's also a reason why
the draft pick out there
knows. Why do people think that they know more than the organization does sometimes? Why do they think that? Because again, if they were going to turn the page with Kyle Trask, they would have done that. They wouldn't have gone back to Tom Brady. They would have said, you know what? We're going to go with Kyle Trask. We're good.
No, you couldn't do that.
Why?
Because you couldn't at that time, because it was Tom friggin' Brady. And I'm the one who stood on the soapbox and screamed from the mountaintops and said Tom Brady shouldn't have been playing last year at all.
You may have been right about that. But if Kyle Trask comes into the situation, does he do any better? They obviously didn't think so.
No,
again, if he is the franchise quarterback that everybody wants to crown him to be, besides being Gator fans, just look at it. If he were the guy,
Peter, we all know, and every one of your followers,
the guy.
Look, you've got to leave your personal feelings
It's
aside.
not about being personal. It's about what the organization. No, it is what it is. They have told you over and over again how they feel about Kyle Trask.
Never once have they turned around and said that they don't believe in him, Pete.
They didn't. They didn't say it in
You're
words.
correct.
What
but you can't. You cannot just take.
Is what the actions of what they did with Blaine Gabbert never being able to beat out Blaine Gabbert. We're going with Tom Brady a couple times there. They could have turned the page. They didn't. They told you exactly how they felt. 727-255-0391. It's 727-255-0391. Now, if there's a situation where the Bucs are out of it, sure, you're going to take a look because you're out of it at the end of the day.
What did I say?
Okay, I know, because you're patting yourself on the back for everything. You're not wrong about that. You're
No,
patting
buddy,
yourself on the
I'm not
back. No.
patting myself on the back. You're the one who looks like you're going to have a friggin' aneurysm
Okay, but
over
that's
here.
how I do it. Stop making fun of my looks, because this is how I do my show. I'm
You
sorry.
look like you're going to have an aneurysm,
Well,
and
I have
I'm
to
not.
have an- I
Listen,
have
man.
to have
You
an
know, hey,
aneurysm.
yo,
Listen,
time
yo,
out.
I have to
Time
have
out.
an aneurysm.
Time out.
I have to have an aneurysm to explain.
Let's go to the replay here.
Go ahead, replay.
Just like they do, with the TV commercial, they throw the
Replay it.
little claw. Let's go to the replay.
Because I would have to have an
Oh.
aneurysm to explain this to people, how everybody continues to tell me the organization is wrong, the organization is wrong, the organization is wrong.
But just because you have an opinion doesn't make it correct.
I'm
Pete.
not saying it. Listen.
Okay, because if it was that easy, it would be one of these shows. Oh, Pete, you're so right.
Okay, I'm not saying I'm right about this. What I'm telling you is that the organization has told you how they feel about it.
But
So
they didn't.
I'm willing to take him. They did. What? Okay. When did Kyle Trask beat out Blaine Gabbert?
Never has.
Okay.
All right, I got the question for you now. Then you
Okay.
can answer it.
Go ahead.
How many years since? Maybe I can help you. I think he played under Bruce Arians' tutelage since Bethuseda's been around. Correct?
Okay. So we're gonna. Okay. So to that.
Okay,
point,
just throwing it out there.
You guys are going to criticize Baker Mayfield for the same damn thing that you're not going to criticize for Kyle Trask for, right? For learning a new offense. But he's not able to pick it up. Baker Mayfield's able to come in here and pick
They
up.
never said he couldn't pick it up. What's your next point?
But that's what I'm saying, though. That's a big time factor. That's why when
What's your next point?
The point
Because the
is,
last one's
he
going to
never
trump them
beat-
all.
He never beat out Blaine Gabbert, and the Bucs turned the page with Tom Brady instead of Kyle Trask. If Kyle Trask were the quarterback of the franchise, of the future, they would have had no hesitation. They would have just went with them, and they didn't. They told you. They didn't have to say it to you. Their actions spoke louder than words.
Okay. First number one overall pick. Has many endorsements with Progressive or Geico Auto Insurance. Okay. Looked like the second coming of Christ when he first came into the league. Won a playoff game.
Okay.
Okay. He had all those credentials coming for him. And now you have a somewhat proven quarterback coming to Tampa Bay that's only making $3 or $4 million with endorsements. And you're going to tell me that this franchise actually believed in him? No. They believed in him about as much as they believed in Canales after being the 14th interview coming to this organization.
No.
That's the reality.
No, that's
Now,
not the reality.
he
The
gave
reality of
them-
the situation
he gave-
is because Canales came in here as the 14th interview because they didn't know who the quarterback was, because they were still, at the end of the day, holding out hope that Tom Brady was going to come back. See, even then, even a Tom Brady who wasn't that good last year, they were still holding out hope instead of going with the Kyle Trask. So the quarterback situation was not good. That's the reason why Canales got the interview he got. They didn't get the interview because they didn't have any quarterback situation that anybody thought. Around the league,
they got a little desperate too.
Around the league, they're telling you about the quarterback situation wasn't good. That includes Kyle Trask. That's how offensive coordinators felt about him. That's what the organization, and they may be wrong. But
the last point I'm going to make about Kyle Trask,
sure,
they better kick the tires, because if they don't kick the tires, they've only got 1 year left. That's it. That's it.
You don't kick the tires, he may be a career backup.
No, buddy. You'll never even know if he's a backup, because people like you want to turn around and make sure he's riding the pine, because they actually believe that a guy that's 6'0", that can't see over a defensive line, who's missing every single receiver.
Oh yeah.
Hold on. If he didn't
Right.
have Mike Evans and Chris Godwin, forget about the other players. He'd complete half the passes that he has out there. And I'm the first one to say that it's wrong, because I thought
half of the passes that he's not completing,
Again,
not because of the wide receivers dropping.
I said
the
this
ball.
team was going to win 10 games this year
Okay,
minimum,
okay.
because I thought he was bringing them to the promised land. And I'm telling you, I was wrong. You want to know something, Pete? You do this from a media standpoint. And again, I am going to pat myself, as you call it, but I'm going to slap someone across the head. I do this for a profession. I watch coaching NFL tape, and I played the game, and I'm going to tell you and everybody else out there, he is not the answer for this team. I hope they win out, and I hope they go to the playoffs. That's the bottom line. And unless they don't do something drastic immediately and revamp that offense and roll that pocket around, they won't even make the playoffs.
They scored 29 points versus the Atlanta Falcons.
The first time in how long? And it's a miracle.
They scored 37 points and gave up 39.
I know. So what? That was one
What
time,
do you
Pete.
mean,
Give
so
me a
what?
break.
That doesn't
Take
make
the average. How many
that
how many
doesn't fit
points
your
per game?
point. That's the problem, though. You're gonna go ahead and kill the offense. Blake Anthony's gonna go ahead and kill the offense, but not talk about the defensive deficiencies.
Hold on.
You're
This
not gonna
doesn't
talk
have
about-
anything to
No,
do
it
with
does,
somebody else.
because you brought him up into this
I
conversation.
brought him up because
You
he made a
wanted to
good
bring up-
point.
He makes all the points for Kyle Trask and the offense being shitty. He
I
doesn't.
never
talk about the
took
defense.
it like he was talking about for Kyle Trask.
I did. I do. And he's never ever had the same energy of bringing up Devin White.
And
who's
I didn't
completely
and
been
I didn't bring up that. I
Who's
brought
been-
up the fact that I
am
said,
bringing up it.
hold on.
I'm
I
bringing
brought up that about the divisions were so bad.
Okay.
And this division was horrible. And the reality is it's not the worst division in the NFC.
It is the worst division according to a lot of opinions here. With the football, the level of
Wow.
football that's being played.
Go find that stat. It blew my mind.
Well, I found
Take
the
a look
stat
at the
here.
West.
I found the stat. I see the West. It's San Francisco at 10-3. Rams are 6-7. Seattle's at 6-7. I get it. Parity is prevalent. My point is to put this whole thing on Baker Mayfield seems really like a lot of Bucs fans do all the time. That's the problem. That's the reason why quarterbacks don't work out in this market or for this organization. The fan base is so down on them. And then the reason why you're so down on them, you're down on the coaching staff. You fire a coach every 2 to 3 years, and you don't have the consistency with the offensive coordinator. I'll just say keep the same energy when it comes to talking about the offense as the defense, because you have a defensive leader who came into the season and wanted to be traded and has played like shit because he hasn't gotten paid his money. The effort is not there. Whether it's injury or not, the effort is not there. The defense with all these leaders having a Super Bowl team should be playing a lot better, and they're not. 727-255-0391. It's 727-255-0391. Let's go out to the comments here. Gary says, go Bucs. Let's see if they can play better this week. When is the game? I believe it's 1 o'clock on Sunday. What's up, Peter Blake? What's going on? Let's go. Absolutely. Let's go. Let's go! Ron says, go Bucs, go Bucs. Throw the ball to White. Let's go. Absolutely. Throw it to him. Check down. Pack, win this game. Ugly. Of course, Roger, you would say that because you're a Bears fan and you're a Bucs hater. And you never give any credit to the Bucs. But guess what, boss? You were wrong because you only said the Bucs would have 5 wins. So there you go. Dino says, fire those cannons. We shall. Roger again, hurry going to the Jake Paul fight. Need another Rolex, laugh out loud. Yes, going there on Friday. We'll have that covered here on the Evolution of Sports Talk Television. Tune in to that. Great show, Peter. Let's draft Dallas Turner, Bama defensive end. KR says, hey, what's up, guys?
What up, KR?
COC, can the Bucs rush for 100 yards Sunday? I think it's certainly a possibility. I don't think this Packer defense can stop it. And I think, again, going back to your point, at the beginning of the year, if this Bucs team is committed to the run game, they will have that balance to where they can make plays. I think Baker will play a lot better than he did against the Atlanta Falcons. I think he'll snap out of it. Cold weather, you got to run the ball. I don't care if you're successful or not. You got to be somewhat successful. But what you have to do is you have to want to run the ball in order to be balanced. And hopefully the Bucs do that. And I think they can have some success versus this Packer defense. Just my opinion.
I think they're going to have some success at running the ball, but this is where it's going to be a problem. Green Bay wins this football game if they stop the run game. If they don't stop the run game, then Tampa Bay may have a chance in this game to win this game. If Green Bay forces Tampa to pass the ball, it's going to be a long afternoon up in Lambeau.
All right. Let's see here. Hey, Ray, you need the Dollar Shave Club.
That's a good point.
Oh, get a room, says Travis Bailey right there. Roger
Travis.
Says, Ray. Harry, absolutely. Jeremy says, shout out to JC Allen and all his efforts on the Pirate Parlay. Great guest there, JC. Green Bay sucks. Roger again. Greekites activate. Sitting, I think not. I think the Bucs win by 7. Watson should be back. Also, Christian Watson. I mean, that's for me.
Local Tampa kid. Love that kid.
The Tampa Tornado, Christian Watson. I mean, he's a big-time weapon. And I'll tell you what, let's go ahead and take a break. Let's cool down a little bit. I want to go out to Carlton Davis and what he has to say about this matchup versus the Green Bay Packers on the Evolution of Sports Talk Television.
It's not the first time we done, been in this position, fighting for a playoff spot. So it's like it's a new season of doing the same thing. This team has seen it all, the ups and the downs. So, right now we're just in a period where we are in a must-win situation. And every week is a playoff game for us.
Do you care anything about the weather, the stadium, or anything special about being in Green Bay?
I love playing the Lambeau just because it's a legendary field, but the weather, it shouldn't be a factor because it's football at the end of the day, and it's those type of conditions you kind of want because it makes it more of a football atmosphere.
You guys earned your way back to the top of the NFC South. You can control that thing now, but you look at the situation. Still 4 games to go. You can't take an exhale here.
Yeah, no. It's like I said, it's like a playoff game every game because you never know how these things may end up. You may end up, head to head with another NFC team who has a good record. Atlanta could still win out, or there's so many different scenarios that could happen. So it's just in our best to just win out and control our own destiny.
You like that pressure?
I love it. It's like, it makes you want to play harder and to know that you're playing for something bigger than just like a win. You're playing for a playoff spot.
Could I ask you to Antoine Winfield having just a year where he's been great since he's gotten here, but he's elevated his game.
Yeah, for sure.
Since Brian Dawkins in 2002, to have more than 3 sacks, forced fumbles, and fumble recoveries.
Yeah. He's been playing so great this year, man. He's really upped his level. Like you said, he's always been a good player for us, but like this year, he's a great player. This year, he's just doing everything he told me he would do before the season. Proud of him. His routine is really consistent, man. He's a consistent guy, and he's definitely one of the best safeties in the league right now.
He said he made a mistake on the Kyle Pitts touchdown, kind of some confusion there against Atlanta, but to turn around after a play like that gives him a touchdown and come up with a safety was critical in that match.
Yeah, I mean that's just the type of guy he is, man. He's a accountable guy, but at the same time, he's a guy that looks forward to the next play. He's always looking to make another play, man. I love playing with him. As a safety, it's good to have somebody who you can really depend on back there with you. So that's just the type of guy he is, man. He's a next play kind of guy, but he's a player that once he – and it's not even his fault. We can't even just sit here and say it's his fault. It was just a bust in the coverage, miscommunication on everybody's end. So it's just not on him. We got to do a better job of just, being on the same page, everybody, not just him, not just me, just everybody in the back end. So, he's going to take accountability for it, but I could say the same. So,
is he a better pass rusher or interceptor?
So I don't know. He's an all-around guy. This guy does it all. He tackles. He makes plays on the ball. He creates fumbles. He can pass rush. He can do everything. I don't know anything he can't do.
Thanks, Carlton. Appreciate it.
No problem.
All right, welcome back to the Evolution of Sports Talk Television. I know you want to finish up there. Carlton Davis, a big part of it. Played well, had an interception, nearly a touchdown. There it needs to play well, especially if Watson is starting. I mean, that's a matchup. That's the reason why you pay one of your top 10 corners right there, and you hope that you don't have those coverage busts because Watson has the speed that could take the top off of that defense.
Yeah, Tampa plays a lot of zone, especially against teams like that. So it's going to be hard to get from behind them. I think Green Bay is going to do an extraordinary job in this game with their short passing game, and they're going to utilize those running backs, especially coming out of the backfield, and try to expose the linebackers to having to move east and west rather than north and south in this game. And I don't know if anybody knew or not, but the Buccaneers are 3.5-point underdogs in this game. Interesting point here that the total is only 42.5. That's like right dead in the middle. They're trying to bet you to bet the over because there's no juice at the 42.5. And I can see Bob Fox in the back kind of just like waving to us. Did you want to come back in, Bob? Give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down.
I think he's watching the show here.
I think he's just watching it. Yeah, but the game itself, it's 3.5 points. Green Bay's favorite in this game. It's 42.5. There's a couple of other really good games that you can go ahead and bet on this week. If anybody's interested, you can go ahead and just DM Pete or you can DM me, and I'll go ahead and hit them on. It's just way too much to even talk about. But it's going to be quite interesting. But here, I always do this. 3.5-point underdogs on the road in Green Bay. That means Tampa would be favorite, or it could be a pick 'em if the game was here in Tampa. That's how tight this matchup is in this game.
All right. Good stuff. Harry the Greek, professional handicapper extraordinaire, passionate conversation as always, man. Appreciate it. You being on the Evolution, and we'll see you soon. All right.
And you think ESPN's got something on us?
They got nothing. We go back and forth. You tell me you're a professional. You know what you're doing. I tell you, I know this. I mean, it's great. It's great content here on the
Love
sports.
it. Absolutely love it. Bring your passion and bring your bullshit. I mean, just don't bring any, you know what. There you go. Bob, I see you in the back room. Really, really, I hope you have a great time. You know, just know that my skin didn't crawl talking to you, being a Green Bay fan. Appreciate it. Can't wait to get you back on, Pete. We'll see you Mondays and Wednesday nights for all those you guys want to see us out there. Don't forget to tune on the Evolution of Sports Talk Television on the Sports Web with Peter Blake. Don't forget to call the phone number, send the Facebook stars, or go ahead and send some money because Pete needs it. We'll talk to you later, bro.
I definitely need it, man, compared to you. All right, good stuff. Harry the Greek, professional handicapper extraordinaire. Let's go back out to the comments, and then we'll wrap up the show here. Baker Mayfield, his comments, he wants to come back to Tampa. Are you in favor of it? 727-255-0391. It's 727-255-0391. So we'll read the rest of these comments, and then we will get out of here for the night. Let's see here. Let's go. Bucks. Bobby Rain says Bucks win 20-17. Love. Okay. Let's go out to Scott. You see NBC removed Al Michaels from being a commentator for the NFL playoffs. I did see that. Anthony Richardson, here we go, talking about the Bears on a Bucks channel. Yes, that's all we're supposed to talk about, my friend, is the Bucks, just for you, because you don't call in and you don't offer any text messages that are worth reading. I get it. Let me call Chicago Sports Network and tell them I want to talk about the Bucks. Well, you can, I guess. Please call Chicago platform. Please call them and go away. Laugh out loud. Roger. Sports Web covers all NFL. Get over it. Go to another channel. Giovanni, Bucks 31-19 over the Packers. I will not go or watch or join Bucks Report. I am not JC Allen. Troy, hope you're having a good night. Behave. Baker is ranked 16th in the NFL right now. If Kyle Trask is so good, why are we talking about drafting another quarterback? I think there is a possibility of them going and doing that if they feel like Baker is not the guy. I'm just saying how high their pick is. If their pick is not high, they're going to go a different direction. But maybe there's a quarterback that drops down. Maybe they don't believe in Baker. I'm just asking the fan base at this point, what would you do? Stroke? No. All the fans can't be wrong. Yeah, I mean, listen, I'm not saying the fans don't have an opportunity or, don't have an opinion here to say that Kyle Trask should be starting some of these games. But the organization has told you clearly with their actions where they stand on this issue. I don't know. I don't know how much more. I mean, I can ask the questions all day long. Do you think Kyle Trask should be the starter eventually? And what they're going to tell you is Baker is a guy that has all the veteran starts. The offense is struggling, but the running game is coming along. We'll see how it works. If they're out of it, then you go with them. But yeah, the fans know everything. They know everything about a quarterback. There's some fans out there that love Jameis Winston. Were they right about that or were they wrong? Fans aren't always right either. I love my fans. Don't get me wrong. But I think a lot of that's based off emotion. I also think it's based off of being a Gator fan. Sorry to say. Tell him Greek. All right, Pete needs a drink. I need you to get the hell away from me. Stop aggravating me with your nonsense. Good night, all. Have a great night. And Sean says, what did I miss? The debate of the century when it comes to Baker and Kyle Trask. It will rage on, especially if this team does struggle on offense and they are out of it. But I think they're definitely primed for playoff football. They are in it. Big game versus the Green Bay Packers on Sunday afternoon at 1 o'clock. We will have it live here on the Evolution with your post-game edition. Not sure where I'm going to be yet, but I can tell you that I am covering the Jake Paul fight on Friday night, so definitely tune in to that. Stop hating on Baker. I mean, I agree. I mean, there's a lot of hate on Baker, and it's just because they just don't like the guy. Like, I understand the quarterback is missing reads, and he's smallish. There's a lot of quarterbacks out there that are missing their reads. You're trying to focus on it because you're trying to prove a point, and you're trying to fit a narrative. This is not all on the quarterback. I hate to tell you, the offensive struggles are not always just on the quarterback. It's on the running game. It's on the offensive line. It's on wide receivers not catching passes consistently or running wrong routes. That's the problem. I love this area, but they are so quarterback hungry and starved. They want a quarterback so bad to be the franchise. And it's not there yet. I don't know if Baker's the franchise quarterback. I don't know if he's going to come back or not. But I tell you right now, the stats are pretty good. 20 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, nearly 3,000 yards. Is he the future? We shall see here in the next coming games. Thanks a lot to all the guests tonight. Mr. Leo Haggerty, former Coach Scout and now media member of Night Sports Productions and Amped Up Sports. Of course, Green Bay Bob right there. Bob Fox with the book there, Run to Win with Jerry Kramer. Check that out. Harry the Reed, professional handicapper extraordinaire. J.C. Allen of Sports Illustrated, and of course, Best of the Bay, Tampa Bay, Ray Kennedy. Like and follow the Sports Web on YouTube. Of course, friend me on Facebook at Peter H. Blake. Get on that reel there. Over 60,000 views on that. Definitely share that. Love that. And of course, give the Facebook stars and YouTube super chats as I'm going to read a couple more questions. Zach Antley, Pink Panther, excuse me, sneeze to time and fire those cannons. We will. 3 things. You know them, you love them, you got to have them. Bring your passion, bring your excitement. Just don't bring any nonsense. I'm your host, Peter Blake, your Rolex reporter. What time is it? It's my time. And for fans of the Sports Web and the Tampa Bay sports fan, it's your time. Have a great night, and we'll see you soon on the evolution of Sports Talk Television. Jake Paul fight Friday night. Tune in and be there.